Indeed, welcome guys and gals to another episode of Show Us Don't Tell Us on the L&M Radio Network. And we still have our reunited guest here and host as well, Papa Bear and Michael Bejas. However, we have a new guy that Michael will successfully introduce here shortly. So I'm going to hand this off to the Papa Bear guy.
Oh, thanks, Skillzzz. Thanks for joining us, everyone, on the L&M Radio Network. I'm Papa Bear. I'm going to spare you the niceties and just pass this right off to Michael. Michael, how are you?
I am doing wonderful. How's everyone doing on this Monday? And today, I believe, is the what are we on today? We are on the
22nd if you're going by Monday, 23rd if you're on Tuesday.
Yeah, we're kind of like right in between that, and you just kind of deal with that in between thing. Tonight, as our guest, I'll tell you what, very special guest, old friend of mine, grew up in the same city and neighborhood, noted filmmaker, documentaries. He also did A Murder in the Park. So anyway, I will let him fill you in on the rest of the, his bio here. But this is Mr. Sean Reck, and I can't thank you enough for joining us, Sean. How are you tonight?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on, fellas. I appreciate it.
It's our pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. We're honored, and we can't thank you enough. So go ahead.
Now, Sean, this movie you had, a documentary you have originally produced, now that is available on Netflix, correct?
Yeah, A Murder in the Park was the first movie we made. We started in television, and that was our first documentary, a wrongful conviction documentary that we made for a couple of years and finished in 2014. And it went out to theaters, and then it was on Showtime for about 18 months, and now it's on Netflix for 18 months, and it's called A Murder in the Park, and it's starting to trend again on Twitter as people learn about this case, this twisted, crazy case that we exposed of a man in Chicago who was wrongfully convicted.
That's intriguing in itself. When you say wrongfully convicted, I can see that happening.
Well, yeah, the crazy thing about this case is he was wrongfully convicted by a group that used the Innocence Project name to get another guy out. So they were trying to save someone from the death penalty, and they went out and said, hey, we actually resolved this case. You got the wrong guy. And they kind of brainwashed our guy into a confession at gunpoint, and ran to the news with his confession tape, and Chicago officials let the guilty guy out and put our guy in, and it took him almost 16 years to get out. And we helped him with our film. And as soon as we were making the documentary, the pressure was amped up, and we finally got him out.
That's awesome.
If I may cut in real quick now, in regards to this brainwashing scenario, they claim that Sirhan was brainwashed during Bobby Kennedy's assassination. And see, that's why I'm a little bit concerned when the MK program enters into it to a certain extent. But you had mentioned at gunpoint, because normally was it 10% people are easily brainwashed. I don't know. What's your take on that?
Well, I'm using the term loosely. They caught they seized on the name of a guy who wasn't involved in this case. They showed up at his house at 5 in the morning. At 5 in the morning, he was intoxicated, and they pretended they were police officers, and they showed him a bunch of false evidence. Some of it were actors acting like witnesses, saying this guy did it. They said, it doesn't matter if you did it or not, buddy. Your goose is cooked. You're going to get the death penalty. And he got really scared, and then he was like I said, he was intoxicated. He wasn't thinking straight, and they convinced him. They said, the only way out is for you to film a confession tape, and then we've got it all set up for you to only do 2 years. And you're going to get money from book and movie deals. It was this crazy scenario that, we could all tell ourselves we would never fall for that. But the fact is, if he were messed up and saw all this evidence, his ex-wife was on there saying he did it. She later recanted, said that they, basically bribed her into doing that. So that's why I use the term brainwashed. It was kind of a big mind screw, you know what I mean? And that's how they got him to do it.
That reminds me a lot of Gitmo with the waterboarding. They'll torture them until they get a confession, even though it's a fake confession. That's why I'm afraid. That's why I don't like torture.
Well, that's 100%. For God's sakes.
You can get anybody to say anything under duress.
That's right.
With a certain amount. There's no question. Being a military person and a veteran, I know that, and I'm not for torture on anybody. I'm not, but I understand it is used, and it's used by everybody. So, that goes back to that.
Yeah, but it's not effective. It's not. You don't get an accurate confession that way. All you're going to get is they want you to stop. Okay.
Yeah,
that's what
you get them to say what you want them to say.
That's
say whatever you say to save your own ass. Bottom line.
That's exactly what it is. Whatever you want me to say, I'll say it. Just stop this. Make it stop.
Right.
Now you've also done a few other things, Sean. That you did a documentary on White Boy. Why don't you fill us in on a little information on that? I know you finished that one up just a little while ago, but then of course that's turned out pretty big in Cleveland because now Hollywood has come behind you. What's the difference between yours and theirs? Just so the viewers have an idea. Give us an idea of exactly what you do compared to what Hollywood does, so that nobody gets confused.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about the case first. Richard Wershey Jr., Mike, when you and I were in high school, so was he, in the 80s, and the FBI approached him because his father was an informant, and the FBI asked him to get into the drug business to help them out. They were going to pay him a lot of money, and they did. They encouraged him because of where he lived and because of the people they knew. They were trying to get him to open a case against some people so that they can get to the mayor of Detroit, Coleman Young. That's who the FBI's ultimate target was. So they got this kid to get into selling drugs. He sells drugs for the FBI. He helps them take down a bunch of corrupt policemen. They almost get the mayor. They get the mayor's brother-in-law and some other people. And then when they were done with him, they let him go and left him to fend for himself. And he just kept dealing drugs because they taught him how to do it. And he liked the money and the girls. And he was arrested for selling drugs as a juvenile, okay, in 1988. And juvenile, nonviolent drug offense, he's still in prison at 50 years old.
Wow.
And the reason he's still in prison is the feds couldn't protect him from the city who, he was taking down a bunch of city and county people. So they arrested him and threw away the key. And so a lot of people think it's a very interesting story. He's a true American political prisoner. And Hollywood's been trying to make a movie about him for years. When I got wind of the story, I approached him through Seth Ferrante, who writes for Vice, who knows him, and he set it up to where we got Rick's blessing to make the documentary. So ours is a factual film that deals only in, what people are telling us and what the documents confirm. And Hollywood has stretched the story and changed it a little bit to make it interesting. I talked to I had dinner with the director of the Hollywood movie, and he said, I've got a responsibility to entertain people, and I've got tens of millions of dollars I'm responsible for, and they have to get a return on their investment. So I'm glad you're making a documentary. If people want perfect accuracy, they can watch that. If they want to be entertained, they can watch this. So they're filming a movie called White Boy Rick in Cleveland, Ohio, starring Matthew McConaughey and Bruce Dern and Jennifer Jason Leigh and some other big stars and some rappers. And those folks are making a scripted movie of White Boy Rick. It'll be done filming sometime in June. And we finished our documentary, White Boy. We showed it up at the Detroit Free Press Film Festival, where it won the festival. And now it's out on the market to be sold. And we anticipate it'll go to a premium cable channel and hopefully end up on Netflix, too.
Yeah, I hope so. I can't wait to watch it, And I think that's a misconception that a lot of people have when they see something on there. It's based upon true events, but really, you said it in a nutshell, is that Hollywood has, because of the money involved, they have to entertain. Therefore, you lose a lot of what is really true, and based on true events is kind of a play on words if you see the the documentary about it. And that's got to be frustrating for you with all the hard work and everything that you do, because here you are bringing something to light that was not only a travesty of justice, and disgusting in its own right.
Well, I mean, Hollywood is going to write this so it looks like a mistake on law enforcement part. You know that, right?
Well, possibly, and yeah, they probably will. They're gonna go off of some true events. But imagine that this man, because they don't know how to protect him or whatever, why not put him in a witness protection? I mean, if you're introducing him to something, and you want him to be your puppet, and then you play this man, and then of course you leave him to fend for himself, with no protections, nothing else. What do you really, what did you expect? That's the travesty part, and unfortunately he became a victim of circumstance, going through this whole process, and has been ever since. So, ask him how he feels, whether he's getting the money or not from the movie. I mean,
Well, you figure it this way: if the government teaches you how to do something, it must be okay.
Yeah. I'll get right on.
Now, Sean,
let me tell you something funny, guys. The federal agents who worked with him came and sat for interviews for the movie and admitted it, and they're riddled with guilt. They're retired. they're living good lives, and they feel terrible that this guy's in prison when he went in as a boy. And so they're trying to do everything they can to help him get out. So I have to give them a little credit for that. The other thing is about the Hollywood film. For us, the Hollywood film will actually help us. It'll help us get more attention for ours. So in this case, they're going to play with the story. And when it comes to Hollywood films, the first job they have is to get you to suspend disbelief. They need to get you to buy whatever they're selling. So when they say based on true events, a lot of people will then buy. They'll buy what they're being told. So, it's based on this kid's life, but they combined some characters and gave it a little more zip in a few areas. I'm sure. I haven't seen the script. But I know that he go ahead.
Well, theoretically, I mean, you've got two different versions of the same movie, all right? And you've got, face it, you've got a lot of people out of work, and they're doing their homework. A lot of people are waking up now. And it wouldn't surprise me that you're going to get a certain amount that's going to want to compare the two. You know what I'm saying?
The ones who...
ours is the accurate one, and even the other guys will admit that.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you've done all the digging, all the labor, all the background, and then talked to the people actually involved and followed the paper trail to prove everything. There were some people. There were some people before us who did that digging, but they're part of our film, like Scott Bernstein and Seth Ferranti.
they're people who've been digging in this for a long time, and they partnered with us. They're both producers on my film. Yep.
Wow.
And I have a lot of admiration for you for taking on a project like that.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
A lot of people would walk away from, no, we appreciate it. You know, honest people who actually have some sort of integrity. You know, we like it when we see the good guys come out where they're supposed to be. And
well, let me tell you the story of today. Then you want to hear it?
Yes,
sure.
Please. I was going to ask you about that, and you know, you're one of those people that bring to light a lot of the injustices in the world, and really, we can't thank you enough for that, because there's so many, and so many that people have never heard of or go through, and I hope you do elaborate on this as far as is this going to become another documentary as you go along? Is this something for the future?
Oh yeah, this is this we've been filming this one for 2 years. This is a movie called Wrong Cat, and I'm going to tell you the story in a nutshell here. In 1968, I believe, the Chicago police executed the head of the Black Panthers, Fred Hampton. With Fred Hampton was a man named Mark Clark. Those two were executed in bed by Chicago police. The bullets went into pillows. The blood splatter went into pillows. They claimed there was a firefight, but later the government settled, and the state's attorney was even charged for their killing. But he beat the case, of course, back in Richard Daley's Chicago. But the government settled and everything. This was a hit on leaders of Black Panthers. Well, a couple of years later, the brother of Mark Clark, a guy named James Clark, who lived in Peoria, Illinois, went out to do a robbery, and he told his whole family, one of these days, I'm going to get a cop for Mark. I'm going to kill myself a pig. And I don't condone that language or anything, but that's what he told his family. They hated the police for what happened to their brother Mark. So James went out and robbed the drive-in theater, and a brave law enforcement officer, Sergeant Espinoza, responded to the robbery call, and James Clark waited. He could have left. He waited for Sergeant Espinoza to get there and get out of the car, and he killed him. He got away, and the guy, he borrowed a car to do this crime from a guy named Lester Mason. Lester Mason borrowed the car from a guy named Cleve Heidelberg. Cleve Heidelberg worked at Caterpillar in Peoria, and he went ahead and let Lester use his car. Lester lent it to James Clark, and James went out and committed this murder. They called Cleve Heidelberg, Lester did, and they told him where his car was at. Hey, we had an accident. Your car is at Blaine and Butler. He went to pick up his car. The police were all over the neighborhood, and they arrested him. They took him to a back alley to execute him for killing their brother police officer. Wow. Some residents stopped the execution from happening. They brought him down, and they charged him with this murder of Sergeant Espinoza.
Wow.
Now, when he was in trial, James Clark became a born-again Christian and said, you know what, I'm going to confess to this crime. He went to the Peoria Journal-Star and confessed on the front page of the paper to killing Sergeant Espinoza. The police never talked to him. They railroaded Cleve Heidelberg because they already said he did it, and they already built a false case against him, and to walk away from it then would have proven that they built false cases all the time.
Right.
So they charged Cleve Heidelberg with murder, and Cleve Heidelberg was found guilty and sentenced to 160 years in prison.
Just for the car. Just for the car.
No, well, for killing a police officer in their eyes, but what he did was he lent someone a car to go pick up a girl or whatever the story was. So, but when he went to pick up the car, they go, we caught you red-handed. He didn't match the description. He wasn't wearing the clothes that the killer wore. None of the witnesses at the scene could truly identify him, even though they lied and said he did.
Right.
Yeah, and why would he go back if he did that? He didn't know anything about what happened. He was going to get his car. So anyway, Cleve Heidelberg has been fighting for his freedom for 47 years. He's 74 years old. My partner in A Murder in the Park, when we picked up Al Story Simon from prison, the man who was released, he said, before we got a mile away from that prison, he said, you guys have to look at Cleve's case. My partner, Andy Hale, looked at Cleve's case. 2 weeks ago, he got his conviction vacated, and about 5 hours ago, I picked him up from prison.
Sweet.
And he got out today. Longest-serving wrongful conviction in U.S. history.
Wow.
47 years.
No.
So that's what happened today. So we're really pumped up today about this case.
I would be too. You're awesome, man. Wow. We need more like you. We do.
Thanks.
Well, absolutely.
Thank you.
The digging and everything else is incredible. And again, on Show Us, Don't Tell Us, you have we're live with Mr. Sean Reck, and I'm going to tell you what an incredible adventure this kind of is for us, and find out the great things that he is doing. And I grew up with Sean. We went to the same high school, North Olmsted High School. Graduated in 1983, and we're
getting old.
Yeah, we're getting a little old. We're not too bad. We're getting a little old, but it's not too bad. But Sean, now how did you get involved in all of this? Now I know we've all had our things going on in life, and life beats you up a little bit. But how did you get involved in this, and when did you get involved, and why? Why did you get involved?
I've always wanted to be a journalist. I started the school newspaper at Butternut Elementary School when I was in the 3rd grade, and I always wanted to be a journalist, but I became an entrepreneur right out of high school. Actually, I started my first business my senior year, which was a laser engraving company, mechanical and laser engraving company. I did that for like 15 or 20 years, and did a few other businesses. But first part of my life, I had a really bad drinking problem, and it was just a little bit of a mess. Was pretty functional, could run some businesses, but it finally came to a head, and it took me a while. I had to quit drinking and quit everything, and then I kind of it was almost like Men in Black when they zap you with that lightsaber or whatever, and you lose everything.
Yeah,
I kind of forgot how to make money, and so I had to kind of rebuild my life. And when I did, I said, it's time for me to do what I always wanted to do. So the second half of my life, I just started this stuff about 8.5 years ago. I said, the second half of my life, the back nine of this golf game, I am going to do what I love, and I'm going to help people. And I'm going to make sure that I leave the world a better place than I found it. That's just my philosophy now, and I thank God every day that it's working out, that we're affecting lives, and calling people out for doing the wrong thing. I'm proud of that too.
How big is your crew?
My team?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just 3 or 4 of us who are there all the time, and then we get contractors as needed, which is how most people do it in this business. Right. So, but then I've got a lot of partners, a lot of people who help finance these projects. Yep. Great people like Mike Lally and Mike O'Donnell, Kim Lally, Ralph McGreevy, Andrew Hale, John Fessick, Brett Reichert, just a lot of great guys, and
sweet.
In the Cleveland area. We've got some folks out in Los Angeles too. We're doing 5 projects at once right now. Got a real ambitious slate.
Now you just read off some credits, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to make this clear, because we can't go back and edit this and take those credits away just in case they didn't earn them somewhere in the future, right?
Yeah, just in case what? I'm sorry?
In case they didn't earn them somewhere in the future.
No,
they didn't pay that.
Those are all great. No,
they didn't pay that credit back. Okay, I'm just trying to make a point. This is a banking thing I'm driving at. It's like you can't borrow credit from a bank. You know what I mean? They give it to you.
Hey, I'm making a movie ripping on banks. I'm making a movie called The Algorithm about this horrible software that someone wrote to reorder check transactions to screw poor people when they overdraw their accounts. And they're all paying $100 and $200 million settlements right now over this scam that they pull on the poorest Americans. And you know, I want to show what they've done to people, and we're working on that too. We're actually going to partner, I think, with the Pew Institute. But somebody wrote a software algorithm saying, look, if somebody has $100 in their account and they write $110 in checks, there is a way to get one overdraft fee, or there's a way to get 4 overdraft fees. Let's order these transactions, biggest to smallest, so that you can charge more fees. And you're going to have to give us a cut for using our software to do that. They did it for years. And I only know this because I mentor at-risk youth, and I cannot tell you how many of these kids had $12 in their account and bought a pizza for $15. The bank paid it and then charged them a $38 fee. I call them $50 pizzas.
Yep.
I can't tell you how many times I had to go run and cover a damn account.
INF is a $5 hit. And see, I always wondered about this. It's like the bank will take a look at this. I guarantee they run programming to where how many INFs can we hit this guy with? So we'll adjust what goes through accordingly. All right, instead of having one INF, we'll just go ahead and readjust this so you get hit up with 3 or 4. So now you're $200 in a brick hole.
Well, what they'll do too is they will hold something longer than what they will hold something else and say, well, that person didn't cash it in until, like, so if you go to a gas station and you get $10 worth of gas, and then all of a sudden you let's say you buy the pizza, okay? The pizza one might go through right away, but it's already over your amount. The gas one you thought you already had deducted in your head. However, they held that, and then they beat you up on both. You know,
like with my sister, I mean, what they did is they put this amount in parentheses, and they don't tell you that if it's in parentheses, it's negative. They don't put a minus there; it's just in parentheses. My sister didn't know that. They whacked her for 2 overdraft fees for $25 for making a deposit that I asked her to make so I could make a payment. Well, that didn't work out too well. But I had to fight with the bank. I said, look, you know, had I known this was going to happen, I would have never done this. She was doing me a favor. So I actually got that $50 waived, but it was $25 a pop that they hit us for those overdraft, or hit her for the overdraft fees.
Oh yeah, I think
that's a low overdraft fee.
Yeah. Mine's actually $24.50, and ask me how I know, because I've gotten hit with them a few times too. And I mean, I think everybody has. It's very frustrating, especially if I see something that was held for 7 days. I'm going down to the bank and I'm saying, listen, why did you hold that? And she'll say, well, if they're not taking it through, we want to make sure you have that money available. And I said, but it was already deducted out. It's not my money then at that point, and it shouldn't be available because you should have already taken it out. You knew the second that when I ran my card through, you can't tell me on the computer system that you're not seeing a transaction that's supposed to go through on that. Whether they take the money or not, that money was already accounted for. Take it out. It should be set to the side or deducted from the amount that comes out of my checking account. And so
that's completely intentional, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why that's completely intentional. The biggest bonus item that they get is for non-interest revenue, and that's their biggest source of non-interest revenue. So they'll park a transaction and let you think you have more than you do, and then just say, well, you did spend the money, right? You remember going to Best Buy? It's like, yeah, I remember going to Best Buy. I just figured in a week you would have pulled it out, and my balance would have been right, but it wasn't. That's what they do. It's a scam. They know every trick in the book.
Absolutely. And I mean, and they use every trick, and they do that. Now, they should make it illegal. The second that you run your card through, okay, boom, it should automatically say, okay, now you have this much. That's it. And they play with your mind.
Credit, they will, Michael. They will throw it through as a $1 credit, and then whack you for whatever your $15, $23 or whatever, and then bam, see ya.
Okay, see, and here's how my bank works. Like when I did mine and I opened it up, I have what we call a $200 overdraft. Okay, which is money I can actually borrow against. And then I have a regular overdraft of $700. Okay? So the other trick that they have, and I know that they do this, and I've called them on it, and I actually had my fees waived a few times. They'll let me waive the fees once a year because if you don't make too much of a stink about it, you can use that. So I learned a little trick, and I'm going to tell you how this works, and it's very interesting. At a certain point, when I get paid and I put my money in, I make sure my overdrafts and everything else are paid back, because on the 10th of every month, I know if I don't pay my overdrafts back, they charge me $25 to take out like a loan payment. Okay, so at every check, when I get paid on the 24th, I pay the entire account up, overdraft and my overdraft, if I use it. So when I get down to that $200, because it's set up like a loan, I can transfer that money out into my checking account, and I will get hit with nothing at that point. If I leave that as my like a loan, as an overdraft, they can charge me not only $2 for using that, but $24 per transaction on top of that. So they can hit me with this fine. So really, $24.50 comes up to $26.50, and they do it every time that you dip into that thing. And then they'll hit you after that one's gone. Then they'll hit you for your regular overdraft of just $24.50 per event. So what you can do is I transfer that money over as a loan going into my checking. So instead of having, let's just say, make up a number, $3,000 in my account, I transfer over the $2, that makes $3,200. And then as soon as I get down to about $100, I can actually write Judy a check for $700, get hit with one overdraft of $24.50, and put the money back into the account. It's it's like the stupidest thing, but the bank lady actually showed us this, and we were just horrified. But at the same time, I was like, "Oh, okay," and
okay,
fine, that works for me. So, and we've done that before. And avoided all the extra charges that came with it. But I was like, after learning that, I learned how bad these people scam everybody else. And if you don't know, you're a victim.
I'm not even going to talk about my bank account.
Yeah. So
You're still waiting for your card.
So
that's complicated.
So that's one of the things you're working on. That's one I want to see for sure, Sean. That's one I want to see, the algorithm one. That's one that'll be done in probably about 2 years. We've got a couple more on the justice system, on the sentencing disparities out there. There are people who in some states get 6 months probation, and others get 24 years in prison for the exact same crime. So that's got to be fixed, and mandatory minimums and 3 strike laws and things like that.
That's going to go away.
Edicts that politicians issue to look tough on crime, to pretend they're tough on crime, and not trust judges on a case-by-case basis. That stuff's got to go, and then entrapment has got to go. And there's so much entrapment right now; it's sickening. They could put anyone away they want to. They manufacture crimes. Yeah, well, they create the crime. I mean, look at the DeLorean case back when we were young. If you want to see a case, there's a guy who wasn't going to do the crime, and they threatened him. A crime completely manufactured by our federal government. They went to a guy who was hurting. His company was hurting, and they threatened him when he still wouldn't, bring coke in on these cars from Ireland. Finally, he does it. They bust him, pat themselves in the back, and he beat that damn case. He beat the case because they manufactured the whole thing. Yeah, that's going to be the central focus of this entrapment film.
Yeah, but it wiped him out too. That wiped out.
You know what the single best way to beat him in the court is just to ask him basically, well, who are you representing, they're going to say, well, we're representing the people, I guess. That's usually the way it goes, right? Say, well, do you have a written power of attorney filed with the court? If you don't, then anything you say is hearsay and it's inadmissible as evidence. You're not a party of interest.
There's some pretty messed up stuff going on up there. You know, we're brought up to believe, and I love my country. I think that we're pretty good at doing what we set out to do. But man, there are some serious problems here.
There certainly are.
We have good intentions, but I think what happens is that to an extent we have bad people, and
some of us are taking our liberties back.
You can fight city halls. What Hop is going to get to, I'm sure.
Absolutely, we're taking them back. We're showing them how stupid they are, especially with travel and licensing. You know, I mean, this case after case after case. I'll rip out 10 pages of case law, Supreme Court case law and such, you know, and they still want to ignore this stuff. It's like, no, it's time to stop. It's time to stop and get it done. You know, we're not footing around.
People classify it as being archaic law. Archaic law, kiss my ass with that, because it's a fact, not archaic law. You're just overlooking it and buffaloing everybody, and railroading everybody on a continuous and regular basis.
Yeah, go ahead, Sean.
I'll tell you something else that we're doing. That you guys may like, and this is another one that's about 2 years down the line. It's called Justice Incorporated. How messed up is it that a company like IBM can go to a city and say, look, you've got laws, we've got technology, let us cite your citizens using our technology, and we'll split the money with you. And that's exactly what's happening all over the country with traffic camera tickets. It's sickening. The fact that a corporation can say, let us cannibalize your citizens. In Cleveland, they did it for years. And, you know, one of the poorest cities in the country, and they're citizens who, some of whom earn, if they're working, they're earning $250 or $300 a week. They're sending them $220 traffic tickets from a camera on a corner.
Which is a joke.
Sean, New Heights is fantastic for doing that crap.
Yeah, but you can beat that. They don't take a picture of your face.
Man, but why should you have to go out of your way to beat them?
So you don't pay the $220, like Sean said. That's why. What you have to do is go back and challenge. Okay, when was it maintained? When exactly did somebody calibrate it? I want to know. And were you trained?
Wait. How do you know that? How do you know that was me driving that car?
It doesn't matter.
Because the plate shows it's my car. How do you know that was me?
Let us run through my biggest soapbox debate in regards to this. Now, Newburgh Heights cops are notorious for sitting on that frickin' bridge, standing there with that camera, right? Now, how many pictures that they sent out to people, oh, you owe us money because we have you clocked, where if they were in a car, how many people had a warrant out for their arrest and they just merely sat on that bridge and taken a picture of them and next, so that guy got away because you weren't in a frickin' car to do your job to track them down as opposed to gaining revenue for your city.
Yeah, Newburgh Heights and Bracknell are just the Lindales of the east side.
Well, Sean,
Lindale.
Well, Sean, you know yourself, underneath 130th Street Bridge in Lindale. You've been down that. 71, baby. Yeah. Lindale, one cop per side, north and south. Been one about it for years. The one of the guys said, no, this is BS because you guys do not have a on or off ramp leading into your city, period. Carry on, Dad.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and it is. And I think, if I'm not correct, when we were growing up, Sean, wasn't there a lawsuit or a case against them at some point?
There have been multiple over the years. They don't write tickets on the highway anymore that I know of. They still have traffic cameras, but in Ohio, traffic cameras have been neutered. You have to have an officer there. So they built a little booth where supposedly an officer in there signing these tickets. But hey, Mike, you know that Lindale was pretty much started, and this whole mess started from a guy named Armin Maston, who was the mayor back then, ended up, I think, going to jail. But his nephew went to school with Mike and I. His name was Tony Mascantuno, who was actually Armin Mastin's nephew.
Yeah.
He shortened the Mascantuno name, which is funny, but that's the guy who was the mayor of Lindale for a long time and kind of built that whole thing up. So
and Tony's still on Facebook. World. He's on.
Yep, I see him on there.
And as a matter of fact, I think his brother was like an all-star quarterback for North Olmsted for a while.
His brother. He owns Action Door. Good guy.
Yeah, they were. I mean, there were a lot of things, and I think things are. Do you think over this time? I mean, since you've been doing these documentaries, since you've been doing this stuff, are you seeing a change? Do you see a better chance of a change now? Let's just say with Trump in office versus with President Obama that was in office. Do you see a better chance for change here? Because, I mean, what's your take on today's situation with everything that you do, combining it, mixing it together, and looking at everything?
I don't know if it's changing, but here's what I know has changed. I know the news has changed. When I was a kid, there was straight news. All right, you tune in and you would hear what they want to tell you about what's going on. Because they have to make money and there's so many viewing choices now, they basically the only guy who's making money for a long time were Fox, because Fox sort of chose a side. And they decided that people on the right were underserved, and so they served them and were very well rewarded for it. So now MSNBC decided to take that tack and go to the left. So basically what we have instead of news now is a whole lot of choir preaching. People just nodding heads in agreement at home with what they see, and nobody's doing good, deep, long-form journalism anymore. So what I see out there is a chasm, just a big hole that has to be filled as far as going out and really digging in and telling these stories. Unfortunately, we have self-styled people like myself, and there are hundreds or maybe thousands of other people doing this, but this is the new journalism, the new long-form journalism. It's documentary film, and only some of us are blessed enough to make a living at it.
Well, that's yours is considered not. And I say this again, not fake news. What you're reporting, what you're documenting, what you're doing this is what it is. Here it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
Well, we've got to prove it. We got to back it up.
We got to back it up. Today, you don't see that on TV. What you do see on there is a bunch of people with their own opinions, and they're always offended. And the funny thing is they don't care who they offend. It's almost it's laughable. You have to go through as a listener or somebody that watches it, and you have to find out the true facts. You become the journalist at that point, and the rest of it's out the window. I mean,
here's the thing, Sean. Okay, what you're doing is a very good thing, but it's you're not gonna get any press that goes around the cases that you cover. They're going to be labeled as being obscure because nobody's going to hear of them. But the good thing is you're not going to be like Ben Swan.
Well, okay. That's a whole different. You're right, but you know what? At the same time, he does get on Netflix.
Well, I get that. But where is Ben Swan? And he stuck his face in the government. Okay, I mean, big time, where he shouldn't have gone, actually, because I still don't know where Ben is.
So
yeah, well, it always starts out that way. We get laughed at, like the guy who walked out of prison today. We couldn't even get the local paper to write about it. We couldn't get anybody to really write about it at the beginning because they were like, "Oh, this is preposterous." We wouldn't have missed this. And then when the person walks out, they're like, "Holy moly!" Then we finally have believers, but. We had to persevere for a couple of years, especially the attorneys.
Exactly.
Working on this thing for free.
Exactly. And I mean, what you're doing is a very good thing. It is. And you're working on a smaller scale, and you're working directly with local, people, regular public. And that's a good thing. People who have been wronged. What I'm saying is that when you start getting into what the government's doing wrong, you know how it goes, right?
Yeah.
That's
Back at the floor.
right. That's when you get that.
Yep.
Been there.
But
Been there.
it does have to feel. It does have to give you a good feeling of vindication that when you do bring something to light that was such a miscarriage and such a travesty.
I'm not discrediting him at all. No, it's just fantastic what he's doing. I love it. It's great.
No. I'm talking about, like, for Sean, when you see this kind of a miscarriage and travesty of justice, and you bring that to light, and the other papers have ignored you, or have just looked the other way, saying this is preposterous or whatever, and then it comes to light. Oh wow, this is factual. This is true.
We feel vindicated, and you know what? Right now, Richard Wershey has a parole hearing June 8th. We think he's going to get out in July, and we think we had a little bit to do with people not standing in his way anymore, who were before, because this big light is being shined on the case. Well, with Rick's release, which we expect, we're going to be 3 for 3 on these cases so far, and then we've got a lot more we're working on. So, when you start to build a track record like that, which I think we're going to do, people have to start taking you a little more seriously, and that's what we hope will happen. We hope that when we take on a case, people will take a second look automatically, because we don't take weak cases.
Exactly.
Well, Sean, let me ask you a question. What is your current drive to follow through with what you're trying to tackle?
Well, I mean, we have what's my current drive? What's driving me? The fact that we have a broken system and people seem to be oblivious to it or indifferent. And we can't be that way. We can't be that way. We have to correct it. If we want this country to survive, there's a lot we have to correct on the fly. You've got to make adjustments. You've got to adapt. And this is part of it. This is identifying what we need to adapt.
Right.
We have to retrain. We have to retrain people in common sense. Yep. Is what we have to do.
Correct, Bob.
That's part of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
You've got to have that right out of the gate, man, before you even think about getting rolling.
So, basically, when you're doing this, you are. I mean, I know you're looking at the ones that that for sure, but is there a way of picking these cases out above, like, other cases, or is there some kind of what makes you more attracted to one case than the other? I should say.
Is there a certain criteria?
What's most
murder? Go ahead. Well, a murder in the park was a double wrongful conviction where some private citizens went out and basically resolved the case, saying that the police did it all wrong, and we proved that the original police investigation was textbook and 100% correct, and these officers were sued, maligned for no reason. So we kind of vindicated the police officers and helped get this guy out. The second movie we did, White Boy, Rick Wershey, I told you about the story, but the fact is, he's not wrongfully convicted because he did commit the crime, but he was kind of set up, and he was definitely over-sentenced. So that was a different type of challenge because it's an over-sentencing. Cleve Heidelberg was the cellmate of Al Story Simon, the guy from the first, so it's kind of an extension of the first one. And then we got another one we're taking on now, a guy named Kenneth McGriff. They call him Supreme, one of the first crack dealers in Hollis, Queens, New York, who had a lot to do with a lot of big-time people's lives when they were young and supporting them and helping them. But he was, he was a drug dealer, but he ended up getting railroaded for a murder he didn't commit. We're going to look into that case because that was what they call a ghost case. There are no witnesses against him except for a federal informant who was rewarded for it. I think that's pretty messed up when the only thing you have is someone who's incentivized to help you make a case. And then, by the way, the officer who busted him is out trying to sell a Hollywood screenplay on the story now. All kind of smells funny to me.
Yeah, and I looked at when you talk about some of these, I have seen a couple of cases that people doing similar to what you do have seen people tinker with DNA, tinker with the tests, and the evidence to show somebody convicted, and then it turns out later on they find out, well, wait a minute here. And I mean, though, to me that's appalling. Or, I just don't know how you would decipher through all of that to find that out. And
yeah, there was a woman in a crime lab who falsified hundreds of results, and I think they're still sorting out how many people were wrongfully convicted over this woman just trying to do what she thought her bosses wanted.
Yeah, that's I believe that was the one in Texas.
That, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, Sean, can you join us? Can you stay with us here for just a little bit? We got to take a break. Coming up, if you're up to it, if you'd still like to join us, that would be
sure.
Okay. I'll tell you what, you're on Show Us, Don't Tell Us. It is Monday. Well, now it is Tuesday, of course, the 23rd. And yes,
break time. We shall indeed be back in a jiffy, Michael.
Absolutely. And to that, here we go.
Open Eyes seeks out the heart of matters, looking for explanations in places that most other radio hosts refuse to go. No subject is forbidden, and nothing remains hidden. Listen to Open Eyes on the Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network, weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. Open minds, open hearts, Open Eyes.
The L&M Radio Network and Late Night in the Midlands depends on you, the listener. Without you, there would be no us. So help us continue to bring you the best guests with the best information and subscribe today. Information on becoming an L&M subscriber can be found at the top of LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Just click the About Subscriptions tab and become part of the family while helping the truth stay alive. And while you're at it, maybe subscriptions aren't for you. A one-time donation helps as well. Click that donate button on the right side of LateNightInTheMidlands.com and help us help you.
Have you ever heard of Audible? Audible is a website with hundreds of thousands of audiobooks. They're all high quality, easy to listen to, and, best of all, if you take advantage of a special deal that we've worked out for you, you can get one for free. That's right, a free audiobook of your choice in any genre, simply by going to audibletrial.com/openeyes and signing up for the free trial. It's simple to do, and it would support the shows that we bring to you, and hey, you get a free book out of the whole thing. So why not take advantage of it today? Go to audibletrial.com/openeyes and sign up for the trial. Brothers at Arms is not about being militant, though there is a time and place where that is necessary. Brothers at Arms is not about arguing, though there are times where things may get heated. Brothers at Arms is not about who is right or wrong. There are many sides to each issue. Brothers at Arms is about exploring those sides, about dealing with the issues facing us today, about coming together and, through opposing views, understanding the deeper truths that are in the middle. Join Ira Robinson and Joe Long each Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on LateNightInTheMidlands.com as these Brothers at Arms discuss what you need to know. Brothers at Arms, it's about time.
Show Us, Don't Tell Us. And our guest tonight, our special guest here, is Mr. Sean Reck. He's a filmmaker and does documentaries and over some injustices and miscarriages of those injustices. And Sean, thank you and welcome back. And thank you so much for your time and joining us.
Oh, happy to do it. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, especially on your journey on your way back home. How much time do you currently have left on the road before you hit the house?
I think I got about 4.5 hours before I'm back home in Cleveland, Ohio.
Good heavens. Oh, my goodness. And like you had mentioned, well, your homestead is about 50 miles south of me. But be safe on your journey and gas up often. But what I wanted to add here briefly is that, to eliminate the middleman, kind of going off onto a tangent briefly, the old barter system. Good heaven. If I could successfully wave a magic wand and currently get everybody off the grid, and use the barter system, it'd be like game over for the middleman and peace-offs and all that crap. Done. See ya. Good night, Gracie.
Maybe, if you have something to barter with.
That's the hardest. You have to have skills and something to barter with. And if you have nothing to barter with, who you're currently bartering with Obviously you need skills, otherwise forget it.
It's still fraught with its own problems. I mean, it is. But I do have a question for you. Keeping yourself focused on this with everything, and I've known you for a long time, Sean, and you're one in a million. You're just one of those good people, good-hearted people. Your whole family was. How did you manage to stay focused with everything? And I lost my brother. With everything that you went through, how did you manage to do that? Because with what you went through, I felt that pain a little bit myself too, and how was dealing with that part of, and I'm not trying to bring up anything that brings up a sore subject or anything, or but I want to know how were you able to do that?
Well, it was tough. I was still filming my Crime Stoppers TV shows when my sister got ill. She was, and I'll tell you a cautionary tale. My sister was a registered nurse. Her husband is a doctor of genetic pharmacology. He's a brilliant man, and he's cured types of cancer in the lab. Okay, and he works for a big pharmaceutical company. And so they're not dummies, and they're not oblivious to health warnings. But my sister's doctor said, "Hey, you're anemic. I think you should get a colonoscopy." She didn't want one. She stalled. She waited 7 or 8 months. The doctor called back and said, "Oh my God, you never got the colonoscopy?" She said, "Yeah, I'll go." She goes, and at that point, they diagnosed her with stage 4 colon cancer, and she was supposed to live 6 to 8 months. And she lived about 38 months, I believe, with the disease. And she took that time and squeezed every ounce out of it. She has 4 sons, who I got to see a couple days ago. Thank God they came to Cleveland. They live in Boston, but she became the spokesman for Dana-Farber. She became a spokesperson for the Colon Cancer Institute. She threw out the first pitch at a Yankees-Red Sox game and did media and appeared all over the country to tell people, look, when they tell you to get a colonoscopy, for God's sake, don't be like me. Go get a colonoscopy. So she turned something bad into good, and she got some extra time, and it was horrible. I said goodbye to Debbie. And I'll just say real quick, I said goodbye to my sister Debbie in Boston, ran down to New York for the premiere of my film. And there was a film before mine, and while that film was being shown and I was in the theater, I walked out. I had about 25 missed calls, and it was to tell me that my sister had passed away. So actually the films, and then my film sold 3 months later on her birthday. So I almost feel like she's up there kind of directing traffic and making some good things happen for me and these people.
Oh, I think she's up there directing traffic for a lot of us. Debbie was one of those people, rare people in this world that actually cared for everybody. I mean, she didn't care.
And it was genuine.
Yeah, it was genuine. She didn't have anything negative to say. She would find a bright spot. You could give her your worst, and she's going to turn it around on you and find a bright spot, something for you to grasp onto, to hold, and to say, you know what, man, she's right. And she was honest. She brought everything out in the open so that everybody could kind of go through this whole transitional phase with her. And thank God she did, because it got to a point in my life to where I was like, woe's me for a while, until we shared some things. And then it was like, you know what? The outlook that I have now, and of course Skillzzz and Papa know this, but I've always said now, and I tell people that have lupus, that have lupus and that are dealing with this, that it's a 15-round title fight. I'm going all 15, it's going all 15, and whoever comes out on the scorecard at the end, that's it. But I'm going to do it in a positive way, and I'm going to fight every day. And I do that from the inspiration that she has, provided.
Mike, what upsets me the most is that when cancer was first discovered back in the early 30s, so was the cure. And the cure is out there, and we know what it is. The thing is, it's been held back for so long, it's a money-making proposition.
What is your feeling on that, Sean? When you see the pharmaceutical companies, do you think that they hold back? Do you think?
I'll tell you one thing. Mark works for a big pharmaceutical company, and he would have killed to save Debbie. And I don't think that there was something sitting in a vault that he could have gone and grabbed to save his wife, and that he didn't do it. Now I don't know. I don't know if what you're saying is true. I just don't know. I just know in her particular case, I think if there was anything he could do, I think he would have sold his soul.
Well, I know.
And by the way, if anyone wants to learn any more about Debbie, you could just Google Frontline Debbie's Dying Wish, and PBS did a story on her right before she passed away. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I want to toss this, Papa, in regards to blackstrap molasses. Carry on, Papa.
Yeah, blackstrap molasses and baking soda. There were 3 people that cured themselves of cancer with that, and one of them did it twice. And the whole key behind cancer, or any disease actually, is your body pH. It's too acidic, and it needs to be more alkali. You alkalize the body and get oxygen in the body, and cancer can't survive in it. And the reason why they say blackstrap molasses and baking soda is because blackstrap molasses has low fructose sugar that goes directly to the cancer cells. They love it.
And you carry on that clear weapon.
Yeah,
right.
but I think in this particular case and other cases, because the human bodies are so different and react so different, he's absolutely right. Mark is he was, just so loving to the kids and went through this tragedy. And like Sean said, we'll get off of that subject because I know that's been very, very hard for Sean.
It's very tragic.
It was heartbreaking for me to see it. So, and it makes me teary-eyed to think about it. So we'll move on from there. Again, my deepest condolences, Sean.
Yeah, but I mean, if there's something out there that if blackstrap molasses and baking soda or whatever is going to work, then then there's $1 trillion waiting for you.
That and food grade peroxide. Food grade peroxide has been shown to work as well.
Big pharma is not money off of healthy people. Believe me. All right. That's why you have all the holistic doctors being dropped left and right.
Yep. Possibly. Go ahead.
I mean, don't misunderstand me. What they're doing is good. They have the most noble of efforts. They really do, but they're being taught in the wrong places, and you really have to look to find it. And actually, it's out there everywhere now. It's getting more common.
My godson, who's like a son to me, Thomas, got leukemia at age 10. He went through NIH protocol and went through the chemo and everything, and he was cured. And he's never had to take so much as a multivitamin since then. So I don't know if that they want to keep you sick thing is true in all cases.
Right.
He's 26. He was cancer-free at 15, and they didn't say he had to take anything. He gets some blood work once a year to make sure nothing's creeping back, and that's it. But I mean, I'm not trying to challenge you guys. I hope it were that. I hope it's that simple, and I wish it were that simple. I don't know if it's that simple.
Exactly. Well, it shoulda, coulda, woulda, and I mean, I've lost a lot of friends myself to the same thing before I even found out about it. So, but I haven't experienced it myself. So, But hey, I've been smoking all my life. You never know. Maybe it'll happen.
There's what you wish for.
They're not at the remedy. It's inexpensive. You have nothing to lose. Make it palatable. Blackstrap molasses and baking soda, a couple, 3 times a day, make it palatable, and engulf it. You have nothing to lose at this point in time.
I have a friend who's got stage 4 cancer. I have a friend who's got stage 4 cancer. I got to check back on him. He's doing it.
Right.
Well, you know the thing is that okay, and just a quick thing on this. I remember, and I've said this before, sitting down, looking at your kids, and telling them, okay, it's a distinct possibility I'm on borrowed time, and we're going to go through this, and it's going to be okay. There's a huge difference. You can try everything, you can look at everything that you want. I still believe that God has a reason, and everything is pre-mapped out. I've always believed that there's a reason. Debbie's was to bring hope, faith, love, and she did that on levels that most human beings will never.
As well.
Well, I'm just saying, on most levels that most human beings will never be able to appreciate or acknowledge. Anyway, going back to the movie, moving ahead, we'll ditch this part here. When you does something like this make you, Sean, want to go on out and I know you do a lot of the stuff that you do now, and it's on stuff like that. But do you ever look at the medical side, or anything else? Has any of that changed you in a way? Other than what you do now, trying to do these documentaries.
I haven't found anything. I mean, I'm sure it'll come, but I'm not too fired up about anything medically right now. I have to do a little more research. We got to make sure we back it up strongly, because we name names.
Yeah, no.
So, if you don't back it up, you end up taking a stripping. So, I have something that's a little bit. I have something coming out too. That's my sister and I's story. We're adopted, and it's sort of a pro-adoption movie that it encourages people to not consider abortion. That's about the closest we get.
I wouldn't be alone.
The closest we get.
I was adopted. Yep, I wouldn't be around.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. My mother was walked into the VA. She was a medical transcriptionist at the VA. My biological mother. She was crying. She's a self-described dumb country girl, and she got with a guy who had a family. And she said, "Hey, I'm pregnant," and he said, "Well, I've got a whole family." That's when he decided to divulge that. And she was at work crying, and they said, "What's the matter, Joyce?" And she said, I'm pregnant. I don't know what to do." And they said, "Come in Saturday. Don't eat after midnight, and don't tell anybody." And she came in that Saturday, and they said, "Okay, Dr. So-and-so's here." She said, "What are we doing?" They said, "Well, we're going to take care of your problem." And she said, "Well, why couldn't I tell anybody?" They said, "Joyce, this is against the law." She said, "Oh, I've never knowingly broken the law in my life, and I'm not going to start now." Well, that attitude, which doesn't exist anymore, attitude is and that law are the only reasons I'm alive.
Well,
so that's why it's pretty important to me that people think it through. In America, we'll hire a lawyer for a pile of dirt or an owl, but you advocate for unborn babies, and it's like everybody wants to look at humans like cockroaches.
Yeah.
I have no choice. Let me step in here real quick, and Papa he knows who I'm talking about. There was a gal in a virtual world game that we've been involved in for years, and that's how I met Papa going back 10 years ago. There was a gal that was so-called raped. That's all I know. I don't know all the details. And she chose not to go through with the abortion. And she's probably in her, mid-late 40s now, and she had her daughter. And they've been best of friends since. They're so close.
She's a rape child.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, her daughter was a rape child, and she didn't abort that child.
She gave birth to her, and that's the only child she has.
And that's her daughter.
Yeah, and she loves her like there's no tomorrow. They have a fantastic relationship. You know, oh my God, it's so hard to say what direction do you go down, because otherwise the other scenario is, well, if you've been raped, that legitimizes the fact that you should have an abortion. I don't know how to look at that. I'm not going to be the judge or jury on that. I'm not.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know. I would, if it saved the other 99% of kids who are slaughtered, I would go along with allowing that, just for sheer numbers, kind of like Spock. You know, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Right.
I just think I think people would abuse it, and everybody would say they were raped just as so they could fit into their prom dress or whatever. So I'm sorry to sound so jaded, but I just that's the only problem with that.
Yeah, which is a point and a half right there. And I mean, I go back to where you say it was a dumb country girl. You know, I've known you a long time, Sean. You have a brilliant mind. That was no dumb country girl. I can tell you that now.
Yeah, no, that's what she considered herself. But yeah, she was a great woman, and this movie is really a tribute to Joyce Connor Hernandez, my biological mother, who made that great choice to let me live. You know, I owe her that.
Yeah,
and Debbie had kind of the same situation. You know, she found her biological family too. So it was pretty interesting.
And it brings up a point. You know, I've had and Wade, I know you're on there, so just hang on a second, brother. It brings up a point. You know, my father had died back in '86, and my mom, of course, remarried, and she remarried on my birthday. And then I had a stepdad, and, you know, I can't tell you for the life of me, both men, although different, and one was, you know, my biological father, were great men. I couldn't have been more blessed. I got to know two different men, two different lives, and it was a miracle in both of them. And when Flash passed away, and he was a writer, as a matter of fact, for Westlife, Sean, if you remember him, John Fairfield, Flash.
But I still work for Westlife magazine. Go ahead.
Yeah, but when he passed away in 2008, I was the only one there. And it was down here in South Carolina, and you know, I was there in his final moments, which was very, very difficult. But I kept thinking to myself, my God, you know, how lucky that God has done the things that He's done, that I have gotten to have two dads that I loved very much, you know, with all my heart. That was, you know, a miracle. So, you know, and of course, Helga was your mom who raised you, correct, Sean?
Since I was six weeks old. Yeah.
Right, and
yeah, I mean that's my mom. Nurture kind of beats nature. I learned that after the adoption search. You know, you gravitate toward who raised you. But I mean, I'm really, really happy I found my biological family as well, and they're all, you know, great people. And it's good to have them in my life to the extent I do, and to be able to, you know, kind of see where you came from and see people who look a little bit like you. I didn't have that growing up. I always wondered about that stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Guys, fill me in here real quick. I needed to toss this out here in regards to the definition of being humble and being humiliated. There's a fine line. Somebody jump in there.
Well, I'll tell you what, while we're on here right now, I'm going to shout this out real quick. We need your donations here at L&M Radio Network. So if you go on there and you go to our website and you listen in to us, okay, without you, we can't be us. So click that donate button if you get a chance to. And also, I want to shout out there to Lift for the 22. Thank you guys so much for what you do for the veterans. They also have a page on Facebook. If you can go there, they're out of Beaverton, Oregon. And you do a donation, is what they try to do, is get a gym membership to the veterans that need an outlet. It gives them a chance to go on out, go work out, help themselves with their PTSD. and anxiety and everything else. And I'm going to tell you, they're working wonders there. So big shout out to them. And Sean, tell us again, do you have these things that are out there and you want people to take a look at them and stuff? One on Netflix and everything? Please go over it again. Let us know where all your stuff is.
If you want to check out our movie that's on Netflix, it's called A Murder in the Park. Keep your eyes out for White Boy and Wrong Cat. Those will be coming, one in a few months and one sometime at the end of the year. And if you want to learn a little bit more about my sister and her mission, you can watch, just Google Frontline Debbie's Dying Wish, and you can see a little more about Debbie Whitmore, my little sister.
Yeah,
and friend of Mike.
Yeah, please do that. Okay, I'm going to tell you, you want to learn about true love, you want to learn about faith, go to the site, go take a look. I will show you on a website somebody so remarkable that it will change your life. It did mine. Sean, I hope you stay with us here. Wade's on here. I'm sure he had a couple questions that he wanted to ask you, if that's okay. And for our listeners out there, if you have some questions for Sean and you want to ask or you want to jump on in, it's 1-216-772-1330. That's 1-216-772-1330. Please, join us, or you can just listen in like you're doing on L&M Radio Network, or get into Chatsy. We'll go ahead and we'll answer any questions you may have there. Or you can catch our YouTube, our stream. Go to Show Us, Don't Tell Us on YouTube, and it will be up and ready for you to download so that you can watch it later anytime that you want. By tomorrow morning. So anyway, with that, Wade, how you doing?
Hey guys, I'm doing a little better than I did earlier this week. But
welcome, Wade.
Hey, Wade.
Well, I want to ask you something. I used to work as a penitentiary guard down at Parchman Farm, Mississippi. Have you done
Go ahead, Wade.
You done any kind of work on trying to reverse a death row inmate's sentence, or try to get them off death row and just get them, out of the way of a life, to like convert it to a life sentence instead of a death sentence or anything like that?
No, I haven't done that type of work yet. I think it's important. I tend to lean right, but the death penalty, I don't believe, I believe that I'm against the death penalty, bottom line, because I think too many mistakes are made. I've seen them, and I think that.
Yep.
Yeah, and I also believe that, people. The first thing someone says to me when I tell them that is, "What if it was your mother?" And my answer is, if it was my mother who was hurt, I'd be thinking with my heart, not my brain. And I think that's the difference. We've got to be better than the criminals themselves. And when I say we got to be better, there shouldn't be state-sponsored killing, in my humble opinion.
When it comes to the death sentence, all I think of is, who am I to say who lives and who dies?
That is right. Papa hits it a nail right on the head. That's how I feel.
It's sometimes you have that mixed feeling, but then again, you don't. Okay, it's I guess from serving.
Oh, Michael, a different song and dance with Tommy. Yeah, go ahead.
But in my opinion, I'd throw life before I'd throw death.
Right, and that's you, and I can respect that, and that's just like Sean said. For him, everybody has their own personal convictions and different thoughts on that, and I respect everybody's. I mean, I don't want to try to convince anybody. Well, you're wrong. I'm not going to do that. I think that's the basis of humanity, is to be able to say, okay, we'll talk about it. That doesn't mean I'm going to prove that I'm right or you're right or you should be wrong or I should be wrong. It's just a matter of each person goes through the personal experience. With Tommy, right. I can't say that. Sure, I think there's always a lingering vengeance in people. But you have to be able to control it. And is it something that I want to place before myself in front of God, which is my conviction on who I choose to follow, Jesus Christ, God, God Almighty. Do I want to place that in front of my feet and say, I want this person gone, or have to explain that later? It's a very difficult thing, and even with war, we go to war every day, and every day everybody is trying to kill each other on every single side. And I look at it and I think to myself, my God. And this is where I've always said, war is a temper tantrum between two grown adults that are in charge, using other people at their expense to prove their point. I love
Pawns.
our military.
That's what Kissinger called them, right? Pawns.
Yeah, I love our military. I love our guys. I love this country. I love the flag. But it is heartbreaking. Why can't we just all live in peace? And it is. It's heartbreaking. So
Mike, I think a lot of it's because war makes money. I mean, look at the games you have on PlayStation, Xbox. Look at the games you have on cell phones. Everything is mobile attack,
we all get that.
Or some kind of war game, and you're getting these people hooked at a young age, and getting these kids to where they're just mind numb. They think that they can just push a reset button and everything's okay.
No. It's deeper than that. Come on, I'd like to.
Oh, I know it's deeper than that, but I mean, you're conditioning these young kids to think it's a game. In reality, how do we know it's not real?
But let me tell you, it's not real from the second that you walk into a front line. It's not. I'm going to tell you.
It's not. It's not the game that poisons the kids. It's the propaganda.
Well, I think it comes up to what Sean said. We've seen too many times that, and it has happened a lot, and where somebody that has been convicted, and somebody maybe tampered with evidence, and I think this goes back to that case, Sean. If I'm not mistaken, it was in Texas. That she existed, that she was doing the DNA and tinkering with it. I think it was Texas or Arizona. It was somewhere down in the south, down in that area. But found,
I'm not way up on it. I've heard about it a lot.
Yeah,
forgive me. I'm
guessing
not at 100% right now.
Right.
But
I'm guessing at that.
It affected a lot of people. Yeah.
And it sure did, because a lot of people were convicted, and then it turned out later on that something was funky there. You have to research it yourself on it, okay? I'm not going to tell you I know the exact facts on it, but I do recall it, and you have to go on in there. I ask you to research it yourself. That way, don't believe me on this one. Go check it out yourself. However, I think that we have found over the years that some of the people that were executed, there's some big questions. And then later on, it turns out, wow, okay, it's not them. So it's flawed. If it's flawed at all, then we should step back and take another look.
Yeah, right.
And that's why I say a lot of it revolves around the propaganda, because people believe what's fed to them for some reason. Come on, flat Earth, A lot of people just fall for anything. So once you get the propaganda out there, I mean, you're going to have your pushers, your snowflakes, right? They're doing it for the money, but they're making a statement. And it's all where the propaganda flies.
What happens if somebody broke into your home? Okay, I've got my wife, my daughter, the kids, everything like that, and they broke into the home. Okay, and everybody knows I'm a veteran. I do carry. Okay, and I'm looking at this, and they're not just coming in to steal or something. They're coming in to hurt, and I'm forced into a position to where I have to defend my family. Yeah, is that a whole different scenario there? I mean, you're still taking a life, right?
Right. No, that's self-defense. And in most cases, that would never even make the papers. But if somebody decided, well, if you shot somebody and their family just happened to have a whole bunch of money and they wanted to push the issue, all of a sudden, you got some bad press. You got bad publicity. It's making Zimmerman, right?
Yeah, I don't know what to think about that case. I don't know what to,
Exactly.
I mean, you look at that,
Exactly.
and Sean, when you see stuff like this, like when you saw the girl, what's her name, and her father was a police officer, and the child was killed, and of course I forgot her name. It's in a well-known case, and I forgot her name. What is your thought on stuff like that?
Yeah, I never want to believe what I hear on the surface from the media. So it's always like pending some deeper digging.
Right.
So
Right.
so I try to reserve judgment. You know what I mean? You talking about Casey Anthony?
Yes, Casey Anthony. Thank you.
Right.
You know.
A lot of people talk about that case. Here's what I think. I think if she wasn't a good-looking white chick, nobody would be talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think. To tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
that stuff happens all the time.
Yep. You're absolutely right. And they single out the cases that they want to make public, and how can they twist it or whatever. You know what I mean? They're taking the people's mind off from something to place it on these people. It's a diversion tactic. But then they go and they spread their own narrative. And that's something else that bothers me about mainstream media, is because they'll throw in a subject and then bam, they throw in their opinion, and it's like, I don't want to hear your opinion. I don't care about your opinion.
Do you think that, Sean? Do you think the media? Something that I've noticed over the years, and it's bothered me, and you hate to. Okay. I'll put it out there, and you'll understand. I guess I hate to say it like this, but it seems like the media always finds the biggest, ugliest, dumb guy or woman out there, and then wants to get into some kind of a deep conversation with them. You know what I'm saying? Is that to build up the media personnel? Is that to degrade? What do you see when you see something like that?
It's probably something to be determined on a case-by-case basis. But, a lot of times what mainstream media does is driven by dollars. So it's usually
Right.
to make people feel better about themselves, or feel like I said, preach to the choir. That's usually what's behind it.
That's what I thought, to make other people.
And like what you were saying, you said there was no media outlets that would cover what you were doing. They thought it was preposterous. There was something implanted there, right? I mean, right out of the gate.
Yeah, well, once we proved it, they were all over it, but nobody was willing to do the work like we were.
Exactly. You have your preconceived notions, and that's, they roll with that. And that's the biggest problem with mainstream media. Like I said, I'm glad we've got people out you to clear the record. People like you out there.
Do you find resistance from the opposing side a lot of times when you're doing this? Like,
Always.
Always?
Well, always. They just, because whoever we're criticizing, a lot of times we are criticizing the media. In our first movie, you're going to see that we excoriate the media. They didn't do their job at all in Chicago in 1999. When you watch A Murder in the Park, you'll see. I mean, the reporters were completely asleep at the wheel, and they trusted their sources, and never even pulled the police report to find out what happened in this case. So, that's just kind of like what we. So now they can either find anything to pick apart what we're doing, try and preserve their own reputation, or they can just. Or they could choose to do the right thing and reopen their mind and reassess the case. Very easy.
So rather than go to debating the actual subject, it turns into an ego battle, right?
Oftentimes it does. Yeah,
we
get dragged into court all the time, and people sue you just to act like they have a point of view, then they don't have anything to say when they get into court. It's like, we just spent an awful lot of money for you to have a publicity stunt and wasted the court's time.
Right,
exactly.
It happens all the time.
Right.
So I was going to fine tune the tail end of Michael's question. He had a pretty good question. I'll fine-tune the tail end of it. In other words, I think Michael's what he might have been asking you, has anybody just currently visited you in a rebuttal scenario?
There you go.
Has anybody? I'm sorry. Has anybody currently physically visited you in a rebuttal scenario in regards to what you present? Everybody pretty much uses the court to bully, and to try and change public perception. But when we say as far as rebuttal, I mean we invite both sides to participate in every movie because it makes it a better movie. But
Right.
if you're shining a light on something and somebody did something wrong, most of the time they're not going to show up, and they're going to give some high-minded excuse for not participating. But the fact is they just can't back up what they did back then, or don't want to shine any more light on it. So that's what we run into. So unfortunately, a lot of people a lot of people can't go back and say, I screwed up. It takes a lot of strength and character to do that, and
Yes, it
most
does.
people don't have it.
Yes, it does. How do you get? We know how Hollywood gets funded. What about the people that tell the truth? I mean, how do you get your funding? What do you do? Is it private firms? Is it?
Yeah, no, it's all private. We have partners, and basically it's debt financing. So everybody lends the film money, and then they're the first paid when we get in advance. And then once they get their money back, they also get a little bit of the profit. So as it makes money, as money comes in, we split it among the people who lent and were paid back, and with us. That's kind of how it works. It's debt equity financing, and the combination of debt and equity financing. So we had to get really creative to go out and get these done. And thank God we've got a lot of great supporters. It's a pretty tough business, but we're getting out there and making some pretty good deals out in the marketplace. So the people who invest in us are being rewarded.
Do you? Okay, let me ask you this: do you find that the families that you're trying to, right the wrong for, do their friends and do some of them help out to an extent? Is there, because I mean,
no, they're usually people who were marginalized in the first place. So no, they usually aren't in the position to. They're usually living hand to mouth and couldn't come up with. I mean, these movies cost a few $100,000 minimum to make each one, and so they can't. We don't want to take money from them anyway.
Right.
That. So no, that hasn't happened yet. I'm sure there are people out there with benefactors who might sponsor something to get a story told for somebody. I'm sure the situation will come up, but the story still has to pass muster for us to do it. It's got to check out.
Wow,
it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, that alone is a task. Trying to follow through with that story. How long does it take you usually? Like just an idea. How long can it take you before you can find? Is there an average or whatever on a time frame on how long it takes you to find out the information and the facts? And how come nobody else had seen it before? I mean, do they just want to bury it? Is it something that you find that just wants to get buried from embarrassment?
Sources.
Yeah, I mean, we right now there's so many of these that I'll be honest, we're cherry picking the best ones, and we're cherry picking sure winners. If we take a case, believe me, we're on the right side of it. We'll tell both sides, but we're always going to have a point of view. And if we take a case, something went wrong in that case, and we're going to show you how exactly it went wrong. So that's what we look for: egregious cases to cause people to take a closer look at stuff they run into every day, that maybe we don't dig into, but having seen our work, they'll say, I don't necessarily always trust what I'm told by prosecutors. The prosecution is a machine, and it does not have a reverse gear. They've had to invent ways to get people out, things like conviction integrity units that are a recent creation. So that's kind of what we're out trying to get people to just think a little more critically And so we're cherry picking some really egregious cases right now. If we ever run out, I'll be surprised if we run out of those. But
So it
so
sounds to me
they,
like
they contact us now. They said we get a file a week. People
that's what
trying
I
to get
was
us
going to
to
say. That's what I was going to say. It sounds to me like they're contacting you because they're seeing the results.
Well, I always wondered about like cold case files and stuff like that. You know, if you have to go back through there because after embarrassment for so long of a case sitting there cold, are they, you know, quicker to jump at something, or did they, you know, have something that's more evidence that has teeth? It just seems like proving everything anymore today, even with the DNA and everything, I still have questions about all that stuff. I'm still not sure or 100% convinced that that's the right way to convict or not convict. I don't know.
Due respect, I have one, if I can, good heavens, Sean, if you could, I hate to jump in ahead of Michael on this, but here's my question. What's in it for you? Is it just an emotional win with your team? I mean, good heavens, is there a little bit of revenue involved? What's going on in regards to that?
Well, there's revenue involved, and you know, we're building a reputation and trying to build a brand as guys who bring very interesting cases, tell interesting and entertaining stories, affect lives, and yeah, you know, if we go out and entertain millions of people, there's some money in it, not huge money, but there's some money in it, and the people who back us can get their money back and make a little, and we can make a living. And you know, I have goals of making scripted films one day. This is sort of the Crime Stoppers television shows we did in 4 top 20 markets, and then these documentaries are all stepping stones toward some scripted films I want to make, just like Hollywood, but I don't want to do it in Hollywood. I want to do it in Cleveland, Ohio.
Right.
Yeah, I'm all for that. I'll go to every single one you do.
Sorry, Michael. I hope I didn't step on your feet too bad. I had to jump that one out there, man.
No, that's okay. I mean, I'm sure it's a rewarding satisfaction for him because he's on the right side, like he said. When you see something that's egregious and somebody stands up, it comes forward with it, and then it is vindicated, and you're like, yes, you know, that is something there, but you're not doing it just for yourself to prove it. You're doing it, and you've given a family relief, or you've given, you know,
you know, the way I see it, I could be on left field. I usually am, but if you're doing what you like and it's supporting it itself and supporting your family,
self-fulfilling.
I mean, it doesn't have to make you rich. It has to be self-sustaining, right?
Right.
Yeah, and
I'm not a killing.
Yeah, we're making a living. I wouldn't mind making a killing. I wouldn't apologize for that, but we're not making a killing yet, but we're taking care of everybody, and we're building something here. And, you know, and the other thing is, you know, I once heard that the study was done by a psychologist, and the most fulfilling job in America was the guy with the crane and the wrecking ball who would go to work in the morning, they'd show him the abandoned building, and all day he'd bang on that thing and knock it down. He would leave work and look at what he's done. Say, wow, I got rid of that eyesore and that danger, and that was all me swinging that steel ball. I kind of feel like I kind of have that feeling since we're, at least right now on this win streak we're on. I really kind of have that feeling. It's awfully fulfilling to you know, to go out and correct the record and correct history. I'm not trying to sound self-serving, but you know, other people.
No, actually, it's not self-serving. Actually, it's serving everybody.
Yeah, but you're a combination of the wrecking ball and a cabinet maker, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
We're wrecking the dangerous or the wrong, you know, the bad part of it, and rebuilding it with the truth.
Yeah, and erecting a new honesty.
Exactly.
And that's important, definitely.
And you take pride in your work, and you love what you do, and that's the whole key right there.
And you know,
I do love it.
Well, I definitely would hope that, you know, that's one of the things that we do here. We don't get paid for what we do, but what the three of us do have in common here is that we like to make sure that we bring out the truth. and we like to have the people on that we know that can tell the truth and do that. And we'll give our opinions here as we go. And I always tell people, don't take my word for it. I want you to go look it up. You do the research. But I want to give them the ideas, and Papa wants to give ideas, and Skillzzz wants to give them the ideas, and everybody else that's on. Go look at another set of shoes here. Let's take a look at it.
Ideas are all I can give you.
Yeah, we can only kind of make you sniff out the right direction. It's up to you to actually go there, because no matter what we say and say here, you can go to this website and verify it. We want you to go to the website on your own volition and learn it for yourself. Don't take our word for it. Go there. But I hope that you do become somebody that if you're doing something new and we can help out and promote it or go along, those lines, that you'll join us from time to time and be a part of our family here.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. And keep doing what you're doing too. I think it's important. I'm going to keep tuning in.
Yeah,
Can I ask one question that's on my mind?
Sure.
Sean, has there ever been a situation where you started off going into a situation and you were thinking one way and then you discovered something that turned your thinking around or made you reverse what you thought you knew before you walked into it?
On a couple of these, I was skeptical at the beginning, to tell you the truth, and then I got turned into fully supporting our subjects. But that's the only way that's gone. Where I was skeptical, and it's like, well, who would confess? Who would confess to a murder they didn't commit? You couldn't get me to do that. That's what I was telling myself. Then when you hear the man's story, it's like, oh my God, I think, I think I understand why this happened. And so it's happened in that sense, but it probably will happen at some point. Look, if we're knee deep in a story, even if we spent $100,000 on something, if we find evidence that someone's guilty, we're going to put it in the movie. So we're not going to hide anything or sugarcoat it. So it could happen one day. You never know. It's just we got to put it all out there and let people make their own decisions.
Well, the reason I asked that is I live here in Memphis, and I know you've heard of the West Memphis 3. And that went on for years here, and a couple of years ago, they let them all go, and some of them, they let them go, but they still had them on probation. So, it's one of those situations where they proved that the cops didn't exactly do what they said they did, like you said, and then they had to wind up letting them go.
Yeah, I know that that one was a slow burn. One of the real famous ones, like the Central Park Jogger case, too, where it took forever. But you have to keep an open mind, and you gotta call it as you see it. If it changes, you gotta put the change in there. You've got to include evidence. You can't pick and choose just based on what you want. When those guys in our first movie wouldn't tell their side of the story, we had to go out and pay a fortune for footage from other people back when they were telling their story, so we can get their side of the story in our movie. You got to tell both sides.
Right. Well, we had a case where when I was working at Parchman and when I started off working death row, we had one guy named Willie, and I won't give his last name. He's probably dead, but just out of the same. He killed 7 family members, and he begged us to take him to Jackson, Mississippi, let him kill the sister that he did not kill that night, bring him back and put him in the gas chamber and kill him. He is the only one I ever confronted in prison that swore that he was guilty, and he wanted to wipe out his whole entire family tree.
Wow, that sounds like a crazy story. There's a book there for sure.
Yeah, which brings me.
A bunch of them always say we're innocent. I'm innocent. I'm innocent. He's the first one that says I'm guilty as hell, and I know it. And I'm telling you now, you let me go kill her, and y'all can bring me back and put me in the gas chamber this afternoon. He wanted to drive 3.5 hours, kill her, and then come right back and let us put him to death. Now that is somebody with a agenda.
That's the worst part about having an attorney. You can look him dead in the eye and say, "Yep, I did it. You have to defend me."
Yeah.
Well, Sean, I didn't know if you wanted to join us again for our third hour. And I know you're driving, and I don't want to take away or be a distraction to you. What's the name of your production company or the company that you're working together with everyone?
My production company is Transition Studios. That's the web address, transitionstudios.com. And that's the company that was the production company on A Murder in the Park. And we've got a few other trailers on there on the website of stuff that we're working on now or that we just finished. I won't be able to join you for the next hour, but I look forward to being on again for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Please let us know. And if there's any way, you can always drop me a message. I will always stay in touch with you, my good friend.
Yep, I appreciate it.
John, I'm glad I met you. What you're doing is awesome.
Yep.
I can't praise you enough.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anyway,
Michael, fantastic choice grabbing Sean in here. Sean, you have indeed been a fantastic guest, and good Lord willing, we will indeed have you on again.
And again,
sounds good.
And again, you can look up Sean. He's kind of all over the place. From Wikipedia, he's over to Lycaton. He's over Transition Studios, correct?
Yep, transitionstudios.com.
Yeah, transitionstudios.com. He also has some things available on Netflix. So, A Murder in the Park. Please do. He's doing some incredible work, and he's helping a lot of people that are righting some great wrongs in this world, rewriting a little bit of history. And I'm just going to tell you that if you don't do that, then, you kind of are missing out on a lot of things. But with that note, Sean, safe travels, my friend, and God bless you. And thank you so much for everything that you've done.
You too, Mike, and thanks to all of you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and
please.
Come.
And listen, we currently still have an hour and 7 minutes still left on our show. So throughout your travel, Sean, if you can tune in to Tune In Radio or perhaps L&M Radio, and listen on your drive. Be safe driving, man. And it's a perfect time of night. You should be traffic free.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. On that note, we're going to take a break on Show Us, Don't Tell Us. You're joining us, and currently it is now Tuesday at 1:54 a.m. on the 23rd. So hang around with us for the last hour, and we'll kind of go back on over some things, and we're wishing Sean the best. But hang on. We'll be right back after these messages.
Thank you.
The rising rate of autism is not just concerning, it's a disaster. No matter what the cause of it is something that everyone should be acutely aware of and actively helping out those in the community that have it. That is why Adventures in Autism was created. Adventures in Autism is a show inspired by our life with our son Seth, and the many experiences his autism has brought to our lives. Each episode we bring you the topic of the week, news about autism, and resources to help you and your family or friends out in their own adventures with autism. Tune in Mondays at noon and midnight on lnmradionetwork.com or openeyesnetwork.com and get involved in the community. Let our experiences be an inspiration to you.
Attention L&M Radio Network listeners. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the L&M Radio Network by calling 605-562-4203? No smartphone app or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 605-562-4203 to listen to the L&M Radio Network on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
There are days that the red pill is bitter in my stomach, but I can't get it back out. I think because I have to. I speak because I have no choice. I walk through this dark age we're in with open eyes. Listen to Open Eyes on latenightinthemidlands.com. And together, maybe we won't stumble and fall. The Late Night in the Midlands radio network is deeply devoted to you, the listener. We feel it is necessary to bring you all of the information that you can use in your life. Each and every day you will find something to listen to here. And whether you come away from the shows informed, inspired, or entertained, it is our passion. We don't bow to corporations, and we don't have handlers to tell us what not to talk about. We bring you everything. Late Night in the Midlands, however, is fully listener-supported. We need your help to stay on the air and to make sure that we get the bills paid. We need your help to keep the truth alive. If you feel that you have gotten anything out of Late Night in the Midlands, we would appreciate your support. You can become a subscriber and help us out on a monthly basis, or if you'd like, a one-time donation is fully appreciated as well. Every year, the average household in America spends over $3,000 on entertainment alone. If you could help us with just a tiny fraction of that amount, you would make all of the difference. Go to latenightinthemidlands.com and click on the subscribe button. Thank you, and as always, keep yourself informed.
Show Us, Don't Tell Us. How's everyone doing so far?
Good heavens, guys and gals, welcome back, and we're finer than frog here, I tell you, Michael. And Papa, where are you currently at?
Oh, I'm sitting here just trying to mind my own business. I'm having a hard time.
We're not doing a show, we're just camping out.
yeah, I'm reading the mail, you know, that's what we used to say on the CB radio.
You're right. Well, Michael, you and my gosh darn self are familiar with reading the mail on CB.
Oh, yeah. To say the least.
The first one, Michael, was Blue Wizard when he had taken over Tommy's car had driven it for quite some time as the Blue Wizard, and there you have it. And away we go. Moving right along in a positive fashion, I might say.
I don't know if I mentioned it on the last show, but I went to the bank and I opened a bank account. I went through my whole spiel and all that. And I was talking with the bank manager, and I mentioned depositing lawful money, okay?
This is interesting.
And then taking some cash out, and he says, well, how'd you like that? And I says, well, I don't know, you don't have treasury notes yet, do you? The new he says, the new money? I said, yeah, and he says, no, that's not released yet. But they know all about the new money, so the banks are geared up for it. They just haven't started distributing it yet. So I thought you might like to know that it's the first time I've heard it from a banker.
That is interesting. That is interesting.
Would this pertain to the $100 bills with the gold pot on the, I believe, right side of the bill, correct or no?
No, that was reported that the $100 bills are printed basically in halves. On the left side it says Federal Reserve note. On the right side is where all your color is, and it's also where that strip is. And when they decide to change the currency from Federal Reserve notes to Treasury notes, basically they're just going to slip the left half of that bill right off of there. And the Federal Reserve note is going to disappear because there is no regulation on size in the bills.
I don't know if you've ever seen, now I watched a documentary on how, excuse me, on how money was made, and, you know, from not only just coins, but, you know, the paper money. But like with coins, depth, everything like that, everything was cut, different things. Paper money, how everything was overlaid, how everything, the colors and everything. It was quite incredible that people actually try to come up with a way to counterfeit it. But when you really take a look at one, the details and everything that go into it. And years ago, I know the Catch Me If You Can movie, you know, based on true events. But then again, if you go back and and they have a whole thing on the truth about it, how he came up with how to find out the you know, and do the countermeasures for counterfeiting and everything. He was a big part of that. It's pretty incredible how those strips are put in there and everything. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but if you get a chance, check it out. It's
actually, it was a while ago. You can't find the video anymore. I've looked.
Oh, it's gone.
But there was a video. No, there was a video about making gold currency, basically with the gold content itself. It was all weighed out and printed. Each design was printed on polyester, and the polyester was burned off, and then like a laminate. Okay, and each one weighed a certain amount in gold. And you could actually take these golds. It was flexible, just like a regular money bill would be. This is flexible. You can stick it right in your wallet, and each one contains that weight in gold. So it's not something that was totally lost. And I don't see the video anymore, but oh yeah, it was all metered out. It all with the gold pattern, the gold design on it, and it would print out the whole thing in exactly the amount of gold so it would weigh right, and it was mostly like 0.1 grams or 0.1 grams, you know what I mean? Tenth of a gram gold. Yeah, and each one would be labeled depending on how much gold is in it. It would be labeled for that amount in weight.
Wow.
And that's how much the exchange rate would be, depending on the weight. And each bill would actually contain that much physical gold.
No kidding. That always amazes me how they do all that stuff. Well, I'll tell you what,
Right.
we'll shift gears. We're gonna shift gears and talk
Hey,
about.
Mike,
Yes,
I got
sir.
one thing to add to that real quick. You
Yeah.
know, they made a couple of movies here in Memphis, 21 Grams, Hustle and Flow, and a couple of those. And they had prop money. Well, somebody got their hands on some of that prop money and been going around to Kroger and Target and Walmart here in Memphis and giving $20 bills, and the people are not looking at them. And then when you look at the bill, they got them hanging up there, and it says for movie production only. Right? Somebody's been going around shelling out money and getting all kind of stuff all over town, and they ain't figured out who it is yet. It's been 3 years.
For motion picture use only. I've seen that.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
$20 bills, and they're going around buying all kind of stuff around town.
Yeah, but they're spitting them out in the ATMs, too. And people are walking back inside and say, hey, what's this all about? And the banks are kind of embarrassed. Yeah, the banks are embarrassed. It's like, oh, we don't know how it got there,
That's okay. Embarrassment. There's a whole bunch to go around for a lot of people in this world. So.
Hey, come on. It's all counterfeit anyway. I mean, what's the difference?
Well, I'll tell you
What
what.
it comes down to is this guy that's currently unemployed and has an ounce of brain. However, he doesn't use it in a decent, productive fashion. Hey, I have an idea. Let me put this in place. Oh, it's working, man. Watch me roll, man.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. That was enjoyable with Sean. We were, very blessed to have him on. That was fantastic.
Yep.
I enjoyed that. A brilliant mind. Golly. Whew. To go through all that stuff. I'll tell you what.
Actually, if there's anybody listening who thinks that they could use a service provided by him, contact him.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. So, yeah, that's incredible work he does. And, just that whole family. Oh, I'll tell you what.
One of our North Olmsted Buzz, where we grew up at.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And there were a lot of them. I mean, there were just a lot of good people. A lot of good people from North Olmsted. And I miss it in a lot of extent and wish you could go back and, point out in their lives and say, you know what? I know what you're going to look like 20 years from now, 30 years from now. And I'll tell you what, thank you. So, God bless them. On another note, we're taking a look. We saw some of the, there is a huge vault that holds, and it's in the Arctic, Switzerland, right? Up in the Arctic Circle. And, of course, they have it up in the cold because the permafrost and everything is to help with preserving our last line of defense for foods, the seeds. And there's over, I believe, what is it? Was it 1 million or 4? It was a good amount. But I'm not sure what the exact count was. But for some reason, the permafrost is melting and it's leaked into the building. It hasn't done any destruction, but that's a little bit disturbing. So we have that to cover. We also have what's been going on over there in Manchester. What a nightmare over there too. So
yeah, I don't know.
I mean, you can't even go to a concert anymore or do things without having to go through this. And
you can't not live your life in fear, for God's sakes. Go watch it.
Well, you can't, but you would like to think that we had, to the circumstances, I'm sure they're still trying to figure out everything. But where exactly did, how did this person get in there, or people? And what exactly, did we have for safeguards?
I'm up in the air about the whole thing. Because usually things like this that happen are covert. You know? So I don't know. I'm not going to say either way, one way or the other. But I do have my suspicions.
I mean, really, is there a defense for this kind of stuff? I mean, I'm looking at huge stadiums here, you know, and
but how do you defend against your own offense? You know, why do you? You know what I mean?
It begs to ask
And,
some questions.
and that's, I mean, you know, it's like war. You said there's money in war, right? Well, the bankers profit off both sides of that war.
Bankers.
And you know, so this is every war that's happened in this country. Every major war was started with a false flag event. The Gulf of Tonkin, right?
Yeah, we know this. This has been something that we've talked about. Gosh,
I mean,
yeah, it's
so. I mean, I don't know where to go with it. I don't know what to think. At this point, it's too early in the game.
Yeah,
for me anyway.
The Rothschild said, unless I'm full of BS here, I don't care who runs the country, provided we currently have control of the money.
That's right.
Besides that, I always like to go through the news just a little bit because I like to get lied to every once in a while. You know, it keeps me on my toes.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
All you got to do for that, Michael, is go see your wife every now and then. I know mine lies to me occasionally.
You like to be lied to once in a while. What do you listen to? 15 minutes of radio every day, or that's it.
Yeah.
I got my daily dose of lies.
Oh, I'll tell you. Well, the seed thing does kind of make you a
You
little
can
nervous.
you can listen to the weather report and get lies.
Oh,
That's the best job in the world, man. Can you imagine?
but you know what?
If you're a weather man or weather girl anymore, there's a lot of here locally here in Cleveland. There's weather girls. I mean, how can you solidify a job and it's just okay, I was wrong, and you're never held accountable because how can they hold you accountable? It's like, oops. Okay, well...
Think about it this way. They put the good-looking women in there to read off the weather. By the time the weather's done, the guys don't know what the weather's going to be like the following day.
Yeah, they're too busy working. Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean...
But that's in the good times. I mean, think about it. If a tornado's coming and, somebody says, hey, it's an F4, it's an F5... You really think that you care whether it's a beautiful girl on TV or not?
Right.
You're heading down as deep as you can into the ground and saying, "Please, God, save me." So, you
brought that up earlier, Michael, about the they always find the dumb guy. Well, every time there's a tornado, they find the guy standing there drinking a beer, and he's going to describe how the tornado came through the trailer park and what it sounded like, where it went, and all. I mean, they always pick, like you said, they always pick the one that's the least informed to give the description of what happened.
Well, I have a thought on that because he's that one guy out there, one girl out there that defied natural selection. Okay.
Yeah.
You're like,
it's either to hand you the beer and say, "Watch this."
Out of all the people that got injured or hurt, God bless them, how in the world did you survive? It's the fluke. It's that one thing.
Yeah.
But no, I give. Listen, being a weather forecaster, they've come so far in a short period of time, predicting these storms. And we've had a lot of storms come through, and a lot of people have lost their lives. And, we don't make light of that. We're very serious about it, and we condolences to all the families on that. But they have made it better. A little bit of leeway time, whether it's 5 or 10 minutes, that's pretty remarkable. And for as much as they're wrong on the sunny days and stuff like that, I can live with that. That's an acceptable amount.
The whole weather girl thing is a setup, It's like you're going to watch to see what the weather's going to be, and they're going to say, hey, look, you're watching it because of her. It's like, well, no, actually, I do have a genuine interest in the weather, It's like, I doubt that. It's a setup, I tell you.
You want to see somebody get mad? You let something like my mother-in-law be watching Young and the Restless or something, and we get a storm come through here, and every channel throws that weatherman on there describing, okay, we got 5-10 minutes before the storm comes through, and there might be a hook right here where a hurricane or a tornado or something can go. And man, I'm telling you what, get off my TV. I want to see my show. And they completely forget about the weather and just concentrate on, I want to see what I was watching, because they're so used to, like you said, being lied to.
Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, you could be currently killed. However, we'll get back to our current sponsor.
Yeah, see, that's why I don't watch
Pretty much.
TV. I don't watch television. It's bad enough. I get a membership to Facebook. I mean, at least I get some stuff that's good there. I get more real news on Facebook than I'll ever get on the television.
Yeah, well, yeah, as you lower your IQ points.
Yeah.
I'd lower my IQ further by watching the television.
Oh, I should have never discovered that TVG television gaming system. I sit here and watch horse races all the time, and I'm sitting there trying to, okay, they're telling me, okay, this horse is going to do this, is going to do this, and I'm sitting there going, I just look at the name, okay, I'll pick number 4, and 4 wins. Okay, and now if I'd had money on that, it wouldn't happen.
Well, of course. Again,
it's like the football pools. Hey, pick your teams from the football pools. Out of 15 games, I picked 2 right. It's like, hey, if you want to know which ones are going to win, pick the opposite of the ones that I pick. You're pretty much guaranteed.
Like my wife does, she just looks at the mascot and says, okay, this one's going to win, this one's going to win, and 9 times out of 10, she does better than I do.
So, anyway,
every time.
Here's a good thing, shifting gears. We are now officially out of the TTP, which is good.
The TPP?
Yeah, thank you.
Trans-Pacific Partnership?
Yes, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Thank you.
That's the one. How about the other one, the TTIP? Was that passed?
Good question.
Sobriety passed.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Now it's done.
Hello.
Yeah.
But
while we're at it, what about NAFTA? Are we out of that mess yet?
Oh, good heavens.
Oh, yeah, right. No, that's the one that joined Canada with the U.S. and Mexico to turn it all into one country. That's the one where Mexico says, hey, you can't stop our people from coming in there because Bush got rid of those borders.
Oh, yeah, they built some of I-69 currently through Memphis, leads from Memphis to Mexico, and that's it. It's supposed to connect all the way from, Detroit all the way down to Brownsville, Texas, or Houston.
The whole idea was to divide the world into quarters.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about that. I think that every country should be responsible for each individual one themselves. And that's truly the only way everyone's going to get along. And
manage the resources. Take care of what you're supposed to take care of. Stop stealing from the people. Do business. Leave the people alone.
I can give you a little insight on that. When I was truck driving, and on that NAFTA deal, we couldn't go down into Mexico with the trailers. We had to drop them somewhere and let them come, and they would drive across our border, pick the trailers up, take them down, load them with produce or whatever, bring them back across the border to a holding place, then we would pick them up on our side of the border and drive with them. Their drivers were allowed to come into the United States. U.S. drivers were not allowed to go into Mexico.
Yeah, I mean...
Right, yeah.
I guess, and of course they're going to hold them. It's a customs thing, but, you got to have something in there. And I'm sure that, they have their reasons for that. Can't say that's good or bad, but I'm glad that he's kind of renegotiating everything and trying to turn it around. Maybe it's just because I feel like that the United States seems to have given a lot and not taking care of its own problems first. And
actually, the United States went where it shouldn't have gone, or it didn't belong, and it doesn't give a rat's patoot about its own people.
Well, that's easy to see, Michael. You know that with the veterans. They send them off to fight a war, then bring them back over here, and then they just throw them out, and they say, okay, now you're on your own.
Yeah, but while they're in there, they inject them with all kinds of stuff. You know, they're using them as for experiments, and then they don't take care of them when they come out.
They basically use guinea pigs.
I just like to see a time where they're taken care of. The hospitals are fixed, and the mistakes are corrected. You know, give these guys back some normalcy, and give them back. You know, they did their job, and God bless them. They did a job that a lot of people wouldn't do. So, you know, but you look at police officers, they do that too. And I can't say everyone is always good, because they're not. There's good and bad everywhere. But
now, think about this, Mike. Okay, I was thinking about this a little while back. A kid goes into the Army or whatever in the service, right? They go in. They never had a job before this. They go right in, right out of school. Their meals are taken care of. Their lodging is taken care of, right? Everything is taken care of. They don't have to pay anything. They get through it. All of a sudden, they're out. They've never done this before. They're not used to the real world. A lot of cases, not every case, but a lot of them. And it's like, well, all of a sudden they can't find a job. They haven't done this, you know what I mean? And this is where you get your homeless ones. Okay,
well,
they're used to having the meal and the roof and a place to put the clothing and stuff.
True and not true. Today anymore, before you get out, you have to go kind of like through there's a transitional period to where they kind of get you used to, I'm not going to say it's something that's,
right.
Elaborate, but how they're kind of tell you that, hey, listen, you got to be prepared for this and everything else. They also have available now to where you can get a skill with something else. The VA offers that. A friend of mine, Stephen McCloskey, as a matter of fact, with his injury and disabilities and everything, and he was banged up pretty rough. Wanted to get into photography. So they helped him get the equipment, the training, and everything in order for him to do that. So I can't sit here and criticize him, to the degree of they screw everybody. It's not true. A lot of it is we have so many veterans that have come back from war and they are lost. They were in charge of $1 million equipment, and they've learned a life of over there. It's a whole different world, and all of a sudden they're back over here, and we've gone over this 100 times, and look at what they're dealing with: protests, marches, flag burns, blah 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 blah. So they're gonna have PTSD. They just need to fix it. That's all. They need to fix it and give these guys, their due.
I mean, a lot of those guys just can't handle what they see. A lot of them that go in don't realize it, but they have this, what you would call a conscientious objector, right? Where they can't kill people. I made a movie about that recently. About the guy that couldn't shoot anybody.
Let me tell you. Well, they did.
Saved a lot of lives, but they were hoping to kill him.
The fact that they made it about one guy, okay? Listen, when you're put into a spot like that, okay?
Yeah.
And I think your life is on the line, and you all of a sudden realize the guy next to you is going to be watching your back and you're watching his back, I think you have a different perspective real quick, especially with bullets whipping past your ears.
Right. Well, like I say, it varies. It varies from individual to individual, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And
they're trained, and they're trained well. And I'm not going to tell you they're not. That's...
Well, I'm not going to take that away either. But what I'm saying is, that a certain amount of them wind up having a dependency like that, and that's why they wind up homeless.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's, it's just an observation.
Yeah, it is.
I don't want to go apples and oranges, but I mean, in regards to work in our maintenance department, when you go out on a job, you lock everything out and you tackle a job. All right, you continuously on a regular basis watch you watch all your partners like a hawk, like a hawk. All right, safety first, number one.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, I get it. But when it comes to pulling the trigger and killing someone, can you do it?
Oh, if you're over there, yeah. I listen. I'm a person that loves life. I love people and everything like that. But yeah, if my life's on the line, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to have a problem doing that whatsoever. I mean, you're not going to have a problem with somebody breaking into your house and trying to hurt your family. You're not going to have a problem with somebody trying to kill you over there. Understand that.
Yeah. And then again, so many experiences will make you callous to it as well.
Well, what? Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's a guilt thing.
This is a sore subject, maybe. But you talking about somebody facing fear and making it like a trooper. I got two examples sitting right here in town. LeBonner's Children's Hospital and St. Jude. You see these kids come in here from out of town, and you'll see them out eating in restaurants with their family. Their heads are shaved because they're going through chemo and everything else. And these poor kids have got these diseases that God knows there may never be a cure for, and they face death with a smile on their face.
Oh, absolutely.
And it is heartbreaking to talk to these families because they know they're going to lose their child. They just hope there's a glimmer of hope they can hang on to them, 6 months, another year, maybe 2 years. I'm telling you, man, it'll break your heart when you see them sitting there. We've seen them, me and my wife, time and time again in some of these restaurants, and they come from all over the place, and God love those people because when they get here, they take care of them. They put them in Ronald McDonald House. They put them in Target House and all these places, and they got several others around here. But those kids fight. I mean, you want to see somebody with some fight. These kids got some fight until the last spark goes out.
That's right.
And it's when you talk about that and you talk about the work that St. Jude's does, and there's so many good organizations out there. My neighbor actually works with children, that have problems. She also does Fawny also does what they call Camp Chemo, where they take these kids on out, they do camping and stuff like that. It gives them a chance, but I'm going to tell you, it does. That's the one thing about sickness that can change everybody. It can take a heart that is hardened and just soften it up like no tomorrow. And that's why. I mean, it's funny, when we come close to the end of life, at a premature time, I think it gives you a whole different perspective, and it gives you a whole different drive to keep going.
Yeah, I know when I hit that bridge, I had a real strong will to live.
Oh, absolutely.
Very strong.
Absolutely. And, when you start talking about war, it's a different thing. Now you're dealing with soldiers that, I mean, they did their job. They protected their country and everything else. They did it, no questions asked, followed their orders, did everything like that. But how do you want to go in front of God? And a lot of them do have deep convictions, and now they already feel dirty or shamed.
Right.
So their drive for life is not there.
Man.
And that's why we have the problem with 22 veterans killing themselves every single day. And that's why they have to address it. Fix the problem, fix the VAs, we need to find a better outlet for them. And again, I can't thank Lift the 22 a Day for providing an outlet for these guys. God bless them. And thank you, for helping them all the way through. Hey, guess who we got on? Tom, are you there? I think he was there, but I'm not sure he is.
He was there. He's not there now.
Oh, he'll
Anyway,
call.
yes.
Oh, he'll be
He's
there.
been busy this weekend. I saw that picture I showed you. He's
There he
been
is.
chopping wood.
Yeah, I
Live
saw
for
him
the
chopping
22
wood.
a day is a
He
great
probably-
organization, and it's expanding. It's expanding fast.
I tried to get around him because he broke the axe at one point, and I said, "Oh, well, he goes, well, I got the axe in America," and I tried to tell him, I said, that's the one we relabeled that was made in China, and he goes, "No, I've had it for 40 years." I said, "Oh yeah, that's the one that was made here."
Yeah.
There you go.
It's an accident, I tell you. Yeah, he finished off his shift with his safari hat while we spoke earlier.
Yeah,
It's an
I just wanted.
accident?
I just didn't want him to have an axe to grind with me over that axe comment.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Well, I'm here now.
How you doing, Tom?
I
Oh, hi
snuck
here.
in. For some reason, every time I call in and you answer to add me, my Skype shuts down. But then when I open it up, it's got the whole group call there and says join group call. So
Actually, I always hang up on you guys, and I always call you back because I find it's a lot easier and more efficient to add people on.
So
you-
when you decline the call, it shuts down Skype.
yeah.
In regards to flat Earth guys, I spoke with Thomas, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I was out driving around, and it was daylight. And over for Thomas, 8 o'clock our time, which is 10 o'clock his time because he's on the east coast of Australia. It was still daylight.
So, now, tell me, Tom, how many hours are there of daylight this time of year?
This time of year, it's going to be dark in about an hour and 15. By about 5:45.
About 5:45 at night?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're not getting much sunlight this time of year, huh?
All right,
No,
so
not
what?
really. I mean, it's like
Yeah, but that's the flat Earth theory. It's heading that way.
in summer.
Yeah.
It's the opposite for you guys. I mean, it doesn't. It's dawn is about 4:30, 5 o'clock between there for a couple of days.
So when's your summer
And then
solstice?
I don't know. It's probably in summer. I don't know, but
Well,
your
okay.
longest day is our shortest day. So
That's
our
right.
longest
yeah.
day is your shortest day.
Right.
Give
Yeah,
or
but
take.
you don't have government monkeying with the time with the daylight
That's,
saving time either, do you?
That's
Yeah, we have to do
that's-
daylight savings.
That's the beauty of having this globe that we work on, that we live on. They, in the southern hemisphere, have more daylight during the winter hours up here, which is actually their summer.
Go figure.
So that's what blows a hole in the midnight sun on the South Pole, right?
Yeah, oh, well, I've never actually been to the South Pole, but I hear it's lovely.
Yeah.
So now,
Well,
Tom,
you know,
as the water carries down the drain, does it go clockwise or counterclockwise?
Oh, look, I keep meaning to look for you because you've asked me that about 7 times, but I'll make a note. I'll pull over in a second.
that's a myth.
Thomas,
You know,
you're
that right there, that's a good way to stop that flat Earth crap. If it were flat Earth, it'd all go the same way no matter where you are.
Yeah, but
It
here's
would
the
go
thing.
different
It
directions.
depends on the drain. It depends on the drain. If
That's
it swirls
exactly
on
right. That's exactly right. It has nothing to do with the gravity.
Because, like, if I've noticed that if you've got, like, a stainless steel sink in the kitchen, that'll swirl a bit, but in the porcelain one in the bathroom, it doesn't. However, the bath will swirl.
Okay, but it also
So-
depends on which side the faucet's on. So, like, if you have the water running on the right side of the sink or on the left side, will that
Well,
make a difference in the way that it swirls down?
Well, no, because
And also, if you pull the plug out.
That's
if the water's not running and you pull the plug, yeah, it depends on how you pull the plug, because
So
it can go
that-
either way. I mean,
no.
So basically, in an
It's,
hour's time when it's dark, I'm going to be standing there on Skype to you guys after the show, doing experiment after experiment with different ways how to pull a plug out of a sink.
this is perfect.
Water 101.
This is perfect. We have now. We had the perfect first 2 hours of the show,
Well,
but
let's
now
do it
we
to
have
the
brought
right.
ourselves down to
All
which
right,
way
then
will
let's
the
do it
water
to the left.
swirl in the sink if you pull the plug out.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which way does the water go in your neighborhood?
Do you see what happens in the last hour when I don't have coffee?
Everything
Well, it's
just
like, here's the
falls
thing. I've been
apart.
listening the whole show. I've been on a tractor all day. I've had my headphones in. During Michael's show, my phone died, and then I got my little charger pack out and was charging while I was working, and just ran out on 100%. So yay me! But I've been listening, and I've had so much input. I've wanted to call in, but I can't. And then now it's like none of it's relevant anymore.
Oh, he'll be back. He'll be back on, and I wish him so much goodness in all his endeavors that he does, because he's just one of those rare people that you can't help but love the guy. You know what I'm saying?
And that's the thing. I mean, who's going to fight for these people? You know.
There it is.
It's wonderful. What he's doing is awesome.
You want a guy in your corner. That's the guy you want in your corner.
Absolutely.
But here's the thing: what they've done here with these sort of cases, it depends on it, on the type of crime that they went to prison for. I'll have to get the information for you. But as it being a closed case and that, if the police don't want to reopen the investigation and see if they're innocent or guilty, as a citizen I can, but now they've made it, so many people started getting into cold cases and that sort of thing. They brought out, to make money, a government-endorsed private investigator status permit thing. And that's all well and good, because then you can actually properly interview people, but they can still refuse to talk to you and all that. But a permit is $1,200 a year.
I wonder how far he would get investigating the Seth Rich murder.
Let me tell you, I've known Sean a long time. He's got endurance like there's no other person that I know.
You know what the Seth Rich murder is, right?
I have no idea.
That's the DNC staffer that leaked all those documents to WikiLeaks.
Ah. Yeah, and they came out the other day and said WikiLeaks has never had to retract the story, but yet we're believe that the Russians hacked us, right?
Well, also, Seth Rich wasn't dead when he went in the hospital. As a matter of fact, they expected him to make it. None of those wounds were lethal.
Yeah.
Well, Justice Scalia was healthy too, and you see he suddenly died. No autopsy.
Yeah. Oh, come on.
Yeah,
he was older, though.
He liked to sleep with a pillow on his face.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Who doesn't?
I occasionally sleep face down into a pillow, but I'm pretty sure I move throughout the night to gather more oxygen.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, you dream you're eating marshmallows, you wake up the next morning and your pillow's gone.
I couldn't shut the damn light off.
How do we go from these things to another?
My clapper didn't work.
I'll tell you exactly how you go into these things, Michael. Mike, I'll tell you exactly how we get into these things. I call in and it all goes to hell then, because it always starts with comparing something in the southern hemisphere and then it turns into this.
Well, actually, I found in the third hour we really get rolling, but we don't know what direction we're going. We just kind of roll all over. What was that, Labyrinth table or whatever? The guy that's trying to work the ball in all the different directions to get it to go where he wants it to go.
But think about how bad
the lady
it's
that's
get.
trying to walk 5 dogs on a leash and all of them are going a different direction and she don't know which way to go.
Yeah.
That's all right. Hey, we got 15 minutes to do a total crash and burn here.
Oh, look, I can fill that in an hour.
Yeah.
What is it? Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis said, "Oh, what? We've got 1 minute left. Oh, we should fill that in an hour."
Yeah.
But
funny thing, people
the Seth Rich murder.
The show is we all sit and talk with each other sometimes, and those discussions go just as bad or worse than they are on the air.
I kind of worry though, if he was investigating the Seth Rich murder, he'd probably wind up like Ben Swan. So it might not be a good idea.
Yeah,
I was going to suggest he look into these prison, people flying downstairs, walking into walls, suddenly banging their head on the wall and coming up with gashes and stuff. But, the convicts do that. The officers never help them at all, do they? I saw my captain grab a guy one time now, I kid y'all not, held this guy up off the ground, 3 feet off the ground. I thought the nerves in his neck were going to bust. He was turning purple, choking the guy over a Playboy book. I thought my captain was going to turn into the Incredible Hulk. His neck was just bulging out, and I swear to God, I thought he was going to have a heart attack.
It's not even a decent magazine. How was that even worth it?
Never put your fate in somebody else's hands. That's all I got to say. Just don't do it. It's not worth it.
And I saw him put a bag over a guy's head and almost completely kill the guy. He was down, when I took him to the infirmary, he was down to 6 heartbeats a minute. I mean, he literally, I had to get out of there. I couldn't put up with that anymore. And this guy showed up at my dad's funeral. I told him, this is the only time you're going to be able to come around me again. I don't ever want to see your face again. He was the reason I quit. Because I didn't wind up a lawsuit.
Raising blood pressure like that is a good vascular workout. It's great. It's great for the pulmonary system.
It's turned into a good vascular workout.
It is.
Jeez.
Oh, God. Absolutely. Hey, come on. Would a doctor take your blood pressure after you do a workout?
Yeah,
No,
they do.
It's going to be high.
Well, of course it's going to be high. They want to see you under stress, though, sometimes, too. I mean, it depends on what you're doing.
I had my blood pressure once, and this is an old doctor's office. They've since rebuilt a building and that. But so you go in the waiting room and that, and they come down and they get you. And then we had to walk up a flight of stairs. First thing he did was take my blood pressure one day.
Tom, I got a question. Have you ever, as a child, taken the medicine called paregoric?
Yeah.
Oh God, I can't remember.
Papa,
What's it for?
Papa, you know what paregoric's for, don't you?
Yeah. My cousin used to take it. I didn't take that stuff.
Skillzzz?
I didn't even get the stuff I was supposed to take.
Let me tell you, that was the most god-awful thing that I remember my mom giving me. I can't even remember what it's for. I think it was one of those multi-cure type deal things like that. And it worked, too, because let me tell you, anytime I was sick after that, I dreaded that damn teaspoon, and I was just like, I'm fine.
That was the point of it.
I'll tell you. My aunt was big
on a job. When we played cards on a job, all of a sudden one of the guys would say, you have a paregoric, don't you? I recall that. That's going over 25 years ago. Carry on.
Yeah, I'll tell you, my aunt was like that.
I don't remember that stuff, but I remember cod liver oil. That was just as bad or worse.
My aunt was a stickler with my cousin with that. Take your Flintstone vitamins every morning, your cod liver oil. Hey, and when you go to the bathroom, don't flush it. I want to see. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Dr. Mom there, Oh, she was all over that.
I'm trying to remember. There was a comedian down here, and he was telling the joke, and it was, how this one guy went to court. He was a truck driver or whatever, and he had went to court, and it had to do with his cows, and he was pointing it all out and everything, and the officer kept asking him, "What about this cow here? It's got a broken leg." Bam, shooting it and everything like that, and the police officer asked him, what's wrong with you? And he said, I'm just fine. And he was suing the police officer, and they said, well, why are you not fine now while we're in court? And he goes, because every time I tell the officer which cow was bad, he was shooting the cows. I didn't want him shooting me. Yeah. That's how you felt with the paregoric medicine.
Exactly.
Oh, so
we're slick, and your mom would come in and put the thermometer in your mouth, and when she'd walk out of the room, you'd put it on a light bulb and heat it up and stick it back in your mouth real quick. She'd look at it and says, there's no way you got 108-degree temperature. You're going to school.
Well, I learned a trick for that. So you'd have a cup of tea or something in the morning, or hot chocolate as a kid and that sort of thing. Your mum would walk out of the room, you'd stick it in there for a second so it'd just get a little bit higher, and then you let it sort of start dropping down a little bit, and then you put it back in your mouth as it's coming in, and then you're only a couple degrees above what you should be, and you've got a fever.
That works fine as long as it's not a rectal thermometer.
I hate it when it happens. My trick was put your head over the heater and say, "Oh, Mom, feel my head," and she was half asleep in the bed. "Oh, man, I can't go to school. Feel my head." "Okay, honey, you stay home."
What a bunch of
And
rookies
what would
you all
do
were.
while you were home? You'd sit there and watch a Price is Right and eat soup.
Y'all,
Now all the mums are listening, going, "That little bastard."
Oh, Price is Right, man, with all those hot chicks on there. Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah.
So let me
kidding
get
me?
you. Y'all went with the fever thing, and I went with the stomach thing, and that way there was no discrepancy. I can't make it out of the house. I got to use the bathroom. You know?
My parents were sleeping when I had to go to school. And let me tell you something. When they get out of bed at 9 o'clock in the morning, I'd better be in school. You know? It was like none of that gets you up to get to school. You're going to get yourself up to get to school.
Whipping. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
One day I
behaving
split
in
my head
school?
open. I split my head open one morning. I slipped over in the kitchen, cracked my head on the bench or whatever. So I went to hospital, got some stitches and that, and then my mum dropped me off at school on the way home. Didn't matter if I had a concussion or not. It's like, no, you're going to school, you've got stitches, you're not bleeding anymore.
Hey, you know, there was a lot of days I used to walk to school.
You get a spanking, you always get home, you get 2 more. Or if you get, like I did, got in a fight one time, and both grandparents, I got 4 whippings from grandparents, 2 from mom and dad, and then 1 at school. So I got 7 beatings for the price of 1.
Good heavens.
You must have lost that fight at school, huh?
That's called a bad
No, I
day.
actually won the fight. I got my butt torn.
No, you didn't. You lost. That was called a bad day.
That's why you get your ass beat when you got home.
He just had no energy left when he got home to defend himself.
We had this little girl that moved in 2nd grade, and she had her brother. And I was talking to her. She was from Panama. And I was talking to her, and it was, we were just standing there talking. Brother walks up and shoves me, says, "Don't talk to my sister." And I said, "I'll talk to her if I want to." So he and I got into a fight, and I whipped his butt. Next thing I know, I get a whipping at school, and then I get 4 more, and then 2 more. So I wound up with 7 butt whippings for the price of 1.
Like
I got jumped one night at a party by someone I went to school with. And I remember him and another kid that got kicked out of our school. And on Monday in school, like, I had a black eye and everything. Like, he just came up behind, punched me in the back of the head. And then on Monday, I beat 7 shades of shit out of him in the classroom and got a detention. That was it. He got suspended. Because everyone else said that he started the fight because he was a complete wanker. That was in year 10.
Yeah.
That's a new
That was a good victory, yeah.
Guys, Thomas is indeed 28 years old, same age as my oldest boy. He does pretty good.
I always tried to get along with everybody. I had too much going on. My dad being sick.
The difference was with that fight, though, is he had no one to back him up. So...
Yeah, I always tried to get along with everybody as best as I could, and
Michael, you were the guy that everybody liked. It was like the Michael Bayhouse guy. Everybody liked Michael.
I just
classic Michael.
I guess I hung around a select few people and stuff like that, but I had so much going on. You never know what anybody else has got going on. And, when my dad was sick, I had my select friends, Barry and, a few others. And you get to know other people's lives as you go. And it's interesting because Sean, our guest that was on tonight, we had a friend, Chris Ike. And Chris and I ended up in tutoring class together. And of course, Chris was a big kid, heavy set and everything. And, Chris Ike had a heart. He was one of those people that you wish you'd be sorry if you never knew him in life. You have no idea what you were missing if you didn't have a chance to know him. And when how
would you be sorry if you didn't know him?
Because he was such a nice guy, okay, and so honest and upfront. And a true person that if you didn't get a chance to know him, you were really missing out on life. You missed the whole point of life. And I learned a lot about Chris, you know, being tutored by Mrs. Allen, you know, the two of us in class. And I didn't even know that he had passed away. And he got picked on a little bit and everything. And I'm going to tell you, after seeing that, and I kind of was one of those people that when I saw somebody picking on somebody else, I didn't like it, and I knew that person, there was something wrong. There had to be something deeper there. But when I found out that Christopher had taken his life, I was saddened because I kept thinking to myself, my God, you know, this world loses so many good people, and he just happened to be one of them. That one kind of broke my heart too. He just. You know, now his sister's on Facebook, and I'm friends with her, and God bless her too. She's, you know, I just, you know, that kind of thought. So you never know what people are going through in school. I always tried. That's why I tried to like everybody.
Talk about getting to know people. I had a birthday last Saturday. Big 5'9".
Happy Cake Day.
Papa became 59.
You geriatric bastard.
59.
Are you really?
I sent him a cake and a girl.
Hey?
Well, at least one of them won't get wasted. The cake.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So I had a great birthday. I put my mom in the ground and planted the stone. You know.
Ugh.
Did you have your friend with you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
For a short time.
Yeah.
For a short time. Yeah.
Michael, you talking about that guy
on the side of the road, eh?
I had a guy that was a friend of mine, and we played football and everything in school. His sister died on my birthday, and then 3 years later or 4 years later, he committed suicide over some girl that refused to marry him. And every time I go back to where I used to live, I put flowers on their graves, and that's the hardest thing to do. 2 lives that were choked out at an early age, and it's really sad.
Yeah, it is sad.
Good heavens! I'm looking at Ira calling real quick. 3 minutes, brother. Ira calling.
Gentlemen, I'm going to back out of here.
Oh,
all right.
Who's calling in?
I don't know.
We'll see if Ira calls in. I hope so.
Thanks for having me, Papa Bear. I'm out of here. I'm going to read the mail for the rest of the show. Thanks, guys.
Papa, take care. God bless.
Papa, take care, brother.
One thing, guys, even though Papa's gone. So daylight savings here. Obviously, you've got daylight savings there, but we don't have it here. During the warmer months, Michael's show will finish at 4, and you guys will start only half an hour after I finish work. So what's the show going to turn into? Because I'll be able to call in right away.
Well,
it's just going to go to hell.
It'll turn into selective answering.
But apparently I was calling in, but we will indeed still end the show up and coming and be outside of the show. Carry on, guys.
Yeah, and you know, on that note, and I'll tell you what, because we are winding down in some time. Tom, any last thoughts?
It was a good show. It was nice that he's had such a fantastic guest. No, everyone just be good to each other and make sure you've always got the right person.
Wade?
Just try to keep yourself healthy out there, folks. I've last couple of weeks I've had some problems with my health, and all I can tell you is to try to do the best you can each day, and any day above ground is better than a day below it.
Amen to that. Skillzzz?
Good heavens. My suggestion is, guys, stay on the Skype call. And guys and gals, thank you for dropping in for our show. And it's been a fantastic show, in my opinion, and Skillzz's opinion. And thank you for listening. That's all I have to say.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I'll call back in. I'm going to go and get some gas and some beer, so...
All right. Well, anyway,
give me 5 minutes.
On that note, I'll tell you what. As I get ready to kind of turn this thing on over to the hour after we're gone here, be good to each other. And I want a big shout out to Mr. Sean Reck. Thank you for joining us tonight. I believe that's transitionproductions.com is what he said. And also A Murder in the Park. So go ahead and take a look at that. Lift for 22. Thank you for all you do and providing the gym memberships to the veterans out there. I can't thank you enough, and I will continue to put out a good word for you all the time. Also, on a good note to the veterans, please, thank you for everything that you do. We love you. We can't thank you enough for that. Be safe. Get home safe, okay? Get home to your families. If you need help, there's plenty of pages on Facebook. Also, contact the veterans if you need it. Don't be a victim, please. We lose too many good people. So be good to each other. And on
that, Michael, before you leave and end the show, Michael has done a fantastic job in regards to engineering this to do Ira Robinson, that has helped Michael out unbelievably and help Michael take care of business in regards to our show. A huge shout out to Ira Robinson, and Michael's firmly well aware of that. And hey, anybody, thank you for currently listening. And it's all you, Michael.
Yep, I also want to just say my last thing here. Please donate to LNMR Radio Network. Okay, if you go on there and you're listening in, you'll see a donate button there. Please click on it, okay, so that we can stay on and provide what we provide for you. And on that note, thank you all. Thank you, Ira. Thank you, Papa. Thank you, Skillzzz. Thank you, Michael Vera. We're honored. And to everyone else on out there, tune in next week. Show us, don't tell us. And yeah, and on that note, everybody, I'll tell you what, why don't we kick this off with something very interesting, and here it is. Take care. God bless.
Thank you.